Chapter 2184. Damn you! Qin Feiyong was about to explode. He turned around and walked towards the door with a gloomy face. Mermaid Princess also stood up. She tidied up her messy dress and hair. Then she stood aside and looked at Qin Feiyong with amusement. Qin Feiyong opened the door and stared at the four of them fiercely. When the four of them saw Qin Feiyong in this state, they couldn't help but feel nervous. But suddenly Qin Feiyong was stunned. He looked past the two people in front of him and saw the two people standing behind them. They were two young men in purple. They had extraordinary looks and a hint of arrogance in their expressions. "It's you guys." Qin Feiyong was surprised. That's right. These two people were young Master Li and young Master Wang, who were taught a lesson by Qin Feiyong 10 days ago. The two of them smiled unnaturally at Qin Feiyong. Qin Feiyong looked at the two people in front of him. They were middle-aged men who were neatly dressed. Their eyes were full of vigor, and there was a threatening aura between their eyebrows. Qin Feiyong asked suspiciously, "You guys are?" "I'm Wang Dehai." "I'm Li Changfeng." "Nice to meet you, Brother Jiang." The two of them cupped their hands and smiled. "Wang Dehai. Li Changfeng." Qin Feiyong mumbled and asked, "You guys are their fathers?" "Yes." The two of them nodded. "What's the matter?" Qin Feiyong frowned. Wang Dehai smiled and said, 10 days ago, these two unfilial sons failed to recognize Brother Jiang and offended you. Therefore, we brought them here specially to ask for your forgiveness." "Ask for your forgiveness?" Qin Feiyong was stunned. He sneered and said, "I'm afraid it's not that simple. Come in and talk." After that, Qin Feiyong turned and walked into the tea room. The mermaid princess obediently walked beside him and began to make tea. Wang Dehai and Li Changfeng looked at each other and quickly walked into the room. When they saw the mermaid princess, they were stunned. They immediately understood why Qin Feiyong was so angry. "Little brother, I'm really sorry. We didn't know that you were resting. Why don't we come back tomorrow?" The two hurriedly said. Qin Feiyong said indifferently, "Since you're already here, just say what you have to say. Then I'll have to trouble you." The two of them cupped their hands and smiled, then walked into the tea room. However, young Master Li and young Master Li stood outside the door without moving. They seemed to be very afraid. "Why are you still standing outside? Come in quickly," Wang Dehai shouted. Their bodies trembled, and they hurriedly ran into the room. Qin Feiyong said, "Close the door." Young Master Li hurriedly turned around and closed the door. Li Changfeng looked at the two of them and said sternly, "Get over here and kneel down to apologize." "Big Brother Jiang, I'm sorry. It's all our fault. We won't dare to do it again." That's right, that's right. Please forgive us." The two of them hurriedly ran into the tea room, knelt on the floor and begged. "Enough." Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows and stopped the two of them. He looked at Wang Dehai and young Master Li and said, "Tell me your real purpose." The two of them looked at each other and bowed. "Little Brother Jiang, please be magnanimous and return the two pinnacle divine weapons to us." "I knew it wasn't that simple." Qin Feiyong smiled coldly. The two of them laughed dryly, full of flattery. "Pinnacle divine weapons?" Qin Feiyong pondered for a while and asked curiously, "Although I don't know the Li family and Wang family well, since you can take out 500 billion divine gems, you must be a famous family in Sky Dragon City." We're sorry. Our two families are considered one of the 4 major families in Sky Dragon City." The two of them waved their hands and said, "One of the 4 major families?" Qin Feiyong was stunned and a little surprised. He smiled and said, "I didn't expect you to be so humble." No. In front of little brother Jiang, the 4 major families are not worth mentioning." The two of them laughed. "If you're too humble, you're showing off. Since the two of you are one of the 4 major families in Sky Dragon City, you definitely don't lack divine weapons. But why are you humbling yourself and asking for them back?" Qin Feiyong said. "Little brother, aren't you asking the obvious? Pinnacle divine weapons are not comparable to perfect divine weapons. There aren't many divine weapons in Sky Dragon City. Moreover, no one would be willing to sell divine weapons of this grade. So, every pinnacle divine weapon is extremely rare. And our 2 families only have one. You can say that it's the treasure of our families." The two of them said, "Only one." Qin Feiyong smirked and glanced at young Master Li and Wang Chongfeng. He sneered and said, "If there's only one, would you be willing to give it to these two prodigal sons?" Wang Dehai and Wang Chongfeng looked at each other and anger flashed in their eyes. How could he call his son a prodigal son in front of his father? What did he think of them? Li Chongfeng suppressed his anger and said with a smile, "Brother Jiang, what we said is true. We're not lying to you." "Are you sure?" Qin Feiyong looked at him playfully. "I'm sure." Li Chongfeng nodded. "Good. Although I've left Nine Heaven Palace, there are still many people in Nine Heaven Palace who are friends with me. I'll get them to check on the two of you now. If they find out that you have extra pinnacle divine weapons, give them all to me," Qin Feiyong said. The two of them froze. "Actually, I can understand you. After all, pinnacle divine weapons are as rare as you said. However, it won't be easy for me to spit them out once they're in my mouth," Qin Feiyong said plainly. "State your conditions. As long as it's within our means, it's fine," Wang Dehai said. Before they came, they had already expected that it wouldn't be easy to get the two divine weapons back from this person. No conditions. In other words, no matter what you say, I won't return them to you. Actually, you should feel lucky. Because with my character, anyone who offends me won't have a good ending. This time, I've only taken away two divine weapons and chopped off their hands. I've already left enough face for both of you," Qin Feiyong said. The two of them couldn't help but frown. Qin Feiyong said plainly, "If there's nothing else, please." Wang Dehai said, "We're here with sincerity." Qin Feiyong said, "Didn't I receive you politely? You call this politeness?" Wang Dehai was instantly enraged. He said in a low voice, "Is there really no room for negotiation?" Qin Feiyong said, "I don't want to repeat myself. Don't go overboard. Don't forget that you're no longer a disciple of Ninth Heaven Palace." Wang Dehai and Wang Dehai couldn't help but stare at Qin Feiyong furiously. "So what? Do you dare to attack me because I'm not a disciple of Ninth Heaven Palace? As one of the four major families of Sky Dragon City, you should have many disciples in Ninth Heaven Palace. Then you must know how I killed Feng Zihan back then. Don't misunderstand. I'm not threatening you. I just want to tell you that it's best to be rational when you speak and do things. Otherwise, you'll bring disaster to your clan." Qin Feiyong chuckled. "Disaster to our clan?" Wang Dehai and Wang Dehai's pupils contracted. Qin Feiyong pointed to the door and said, "Take care. I won't send you off." Their faces were as dark as water. "Didn't you hear me clearly?" Seeing the two of them standing there without moving, Qin Feiyong couldn't help but have a cold look in his eyes. Sigh. The two of them sighed helplessly. They looked at young Master Li and Wang Dehai and said, "They have already asked us to leave. Why are you still kneeling? Get up and go home." Young Master Li and young Master Wang quickly got up and followed Wang Dehai and Wang Dehai to the door. But when they reached the door, Wang Dehai and Li Chongfeng sneered coldly at the same time. "Do it." Immediately after, the two of them shouted in unison. Immediately, two black-clothed old men appeared beside the mermaid princess out of thin air and grabbed her arms. Qin Feiyong suddenly stood up. The mermaid princess was also panicking. Haha, right at this moment, Wang Dehai and Zhang Haoyan laughed heartily. They slowly turned their heads to look at Qin Feiyong and said, Zhang Haoyan, how good would it be if you had obediently returned the divine artifact to us? Why did you have to force us to attack?" Qin Feiyong looked at the two of them and then at the two old men in black. Their auras were unfathomable. They were at least at the monarch god level. He looked at the flustered mermaid princess and comforted her. "I'm here. Don't be afraid. It's useless even if you're here. I'm not afraid to tell you now. When we came in, Old Wang and Old Li had already followed us in secretly. It's just that the space divine item they were hiding in was embedded with the soul concealing stone." Young Master Li and young Master Wang were no longer humble. They looked at Qin Feiyong with sneers on their faces. The two old men in black were also sneering. Qin Feiyong glanced at the six of them and said in a deep voice, "Let me give you a piece of advice. You'd better let her go immediately." "What if we don't? Now that she's in our hands, what can you do even if you're extremely capable?" Young Master Li and Old Li walked to the mermaid princess and chuckled. Do you know what consequences this will bring to you? Qin Feiyang looked at the two of them gloomily. We don't know. But we know that after you die, we'll definitely take good care of her for you. Young Master Li and Old Li smiled obscenely and emphasized the word, take good care. Huff! Qin Feiyang took a deep breath. He didn't want to talk nonsense with these two pieces of trash. He turned to Wang Dehai and Old Li and said, Are you sure you won't let her go? You should be clear about the situation. Now we have the final say. And you don't even have the right to negotiate with us. But that's not important. Anyway, you have to die. After all, you Jiang Haoyan are still a threat. Wang Dehai walked leisurely to the front of the coffee table. He sat down on the chair and smiled at Qin Feiyang. Don't talk nonsense with him. Li Changfeng smiled coldly. He looked at Qin Feiyang and said, Are you going to do it yourself or should we? Qin Feiyang looked at the two of them with flickering eyes. Suddenly he said, I'm a little puzzled. Isn't it just two pinnacle divine artifacts? Is there a need to kill me? Of course it's not just those two divine artifacts. Wang Dehai said. Qin Feiyang's heart skipped a beat. He asked, Is there any other reason? Translator. Atlas Studios Editor. Atlas Studios. Chapter 2185. That's right. Who doesn't know that you have a crimson sword with you and that you can easily cripple Shangguan Fenglan? This crimson sword is very attractive. Wang Dehai smiled and looked at Qin Feiyang with greed on his face. I see. Qin Feiyang nodded and said, I thought there was someone backing you guys up. After all, ordinary people don't have the guts to deal with me. Hearing Qin Feiyang, Wang Dehai and Li Changfeng's faces changed slightly but returned to normal immediately. However, no matter how fast they tried to hide it, Qin Feiyang caught it with his observation skills that he had trained for many years. Could it be that there was someone backing them up? Li Changfeng shouted impatiently, Don't talk nonsense. Quickly end your own life so that you don't have to suffer physical pain. Qin Feiyang looked at Li Changfeng and suddenly let out a long sigh. Why are you sighing? Li Changfeng raised his eyebrows. I'm sighing. Why are there people as stupid as you guys in this world? Of all people, you chose to provoke me. Do you guys really understand my means? Qin Feiyang shook his head and said, If you want to see your woman die in front of you, you can try. Li Changfeng sneered. You guys are so stupid that no medicine can save you. Qin Feiyang shook his head and sighed. He said plainly, Weapon spirit, do it. Weapon spirit? The six of them were stunned. Bang! A vast pressure suddenly rushed out from Qin Feiyang's body. In an instant, Wang Dehai and his son, Li Changfeng and his son, as well as the two old men in black, were imprisoned. What? How can his pressure be so terrifying? The six of them turned pale with fright. Swoosh! At the same time, the weapon spirit appeared from the sea of qi and stood beside Qin Feiyang. The blurry figure exuded a shocking aura of death, as though the god of death had descended. Did you see that? This is the difference between us. No matter how powerful you are, you won't be able to do anything to me. Qin Feiyang said with a smile as he looked at the six people. At this moment, how could the six of them still dare to be arrogant? His heart was filled with regret and despair. Who would have thought that there would be such a terrifying expert hiding by his side? Qin Feiyang walked in front of the mermaid princess and pried open the two old men's hands. Then, he looked at the mermaid princess and said, See, this is why I didn't let you stay outside. Don't I have you? The mermaid princess giggled. With a helpless smile, Qin Feiyang asked in concern, You're not frightened, right? With you here, I won't be afraid even if the sky falls. The mermaid princess said. Pick something nice to say. Qin Feiyang was speechless, but his eyes were full of doting. He said, The next scene may be a little bloody. You go to the castle first and wait for me to finish. All right. The mermaid princess nodded. With a wave of Qin Feiyang's hand, the mermaid princess disappeared. Da-da. At this moment, there was a burst of hurried footsteps outside. Obviously, the pressure of the artifact spirit had alarmed the people in the restaurant. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed. He gave the artifact spirit a few instructions and sent the artifact spirit and the six people to the Black Tortoise realm. The majesty also dissipated. Young Master Jiang, are you there? Soon, An anxious voice sounded from outside. I'm here. Qin Feiyong replied, but did not open the door. The person outside asked, did something happen just now? Nothing. There was a problem when I was cultivating. Qin Feiyong said. Is that so? If there's nothing else, I won't disturb you. The person outside said. Okay. Qin Feiyong replied. However, after the footsteps faded away, Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed coldly. He then entered the Black Tortoise realm. Above the herb field, the artifact spirit stood against the wind, and the force of death shrouded the area. Li Changfeng and his son, Wang Dehai and his son, and the two old men in black were still imprisoned. Their eyes were filled with fear, especially when they saw Qin Feiyong appear. Young Master Li and Young Master Wang were so scared that they peed their pants. What's that smell? Qin Feiyong pinched his nose, looked at the two of them and joked, where's the arrogance from before? You peed your pants just because of this. It seems like I'm praising you too much by saying that you're talking nonsense. Don't kill us, this time we really know our mistake. The two of them shouted in horror, and their faces turned pale. 10 days ago I already let you go. How did you repay me? You even said that you would take care of my woman for me. Are you worthy? Qin Feiyong was disdainful. He turned to the artifact spirit and laughed. Take good care of them for me. No problem. The artifact spirit laughed hoarsely, and the force of life and death surged into the bodies of the two. The two of them screamed in agony. The vitality and blood in their bodies were flowing out of their bodies uncontrollably. Zhang Haodin, no. Brother Zhang, I beg you. This has nothing to do with us. It's our father's plan. Just treat us as dogs. Take pity on us and let us go. The two of them screamed in despair. Their bodies had shriveled up, and only skin and bones were left. They looked like dried corpses and it was extremely terrifying. There was no pity on Qin Feiyong's face. He just coldly looked at them. Only when their life force was completely exhausted and they died in despair did he retract his gaze and look at the two black-clothed old men. The two old men in black panicked. Do you know? You deserve to die more than the two of them, because you hurt the woman that I love the most. Qin Feiyong said. How did we hurt her? The two of them hurriedly said. You captured her and used her to threaten me. I want to hear the truth, Qin Feiyong said. Wang Dehai sighed and nodded. Yes, there really is. Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed coldly as he asked, who instigated the two of you? You know her. She's Yin Hui. Wang Dehai said. Yin Hui? Qin Feiyong was stunned. He did not expect it to be this woman. Initially, we've already given up on asking you for the pinnacle divine weapon because we know that you're not someone to be trifled with. Hence, we're treating it as a greeting gift to make friends with you. Wang Dehai said. That's right. If we wanted to get the divine weapon back from the start, we wouldn't have to wait until today 10 days later. Li Changfeng also added. Qin Feiyong nodded. He looked at the two of them and asked, when did Yin Hui appear? Chapter 2186. Wang Dehai said, just this morning. This morning? Qin Feiyong frowned. Yes. This morning, she changed her appearance and sneaked into the mansion to look for me. She wanted me to help her deal with you. First, I didn't agree. Because I know your means. Those who go against you won't have a good ending. However, she said that as long as the plan is thorough, there won't be any mistakes. Moreover, she gave me a condition that I couldn't refuse. Wang Dehai sighed, his face full of regret. What condition? Qin Feiyong was suspicious. Wang Dehai said, 1 level 6 soul line. What? Level 6 soul line. Qin Feiyong was stunned. He looked at Li Changfeng and said, you too? Yes. Li Changfeng nodded. Qin Feiyong said in disbelief, that means she has at least 2 level 6 soul lines now? Wang Dehai said, Feng Yuan was once the Nine Heavens Palace's resource hall master. It's normal for him to have soul lines. Soul line. Qin Feiyong's eyes flickered. He looked at the two of them and asked, where is Yin Hui now? I don't know. The two of them shook their heads. You don't know? Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows. After reaching an agreement, she left. Wang Dehai said. Left? Qin Feiyong frowned. Suddenly, Wang Dehai added, however, before she left, She said that when the news of your death spreads, she will appear again. When she sees your corpse with her own eyes, she will give us the soul line. Qin Feiyang was stunned. Do you really believe that she will give you the soul line? After all, we are one of the 4 major families in Sky Dragon City. Now that we have lost Feng Yuan's backing, she dares to lie to us? Wang Dehai and Li Changfeng sneered. Qin Feiyang was stunned. The two of them were too naive. Although they didn't have much contact with Yin Hui, she was definitely shrewd since she could become Elder Yun's disciple, and Elder Yun was willing to risk universal condemnation to save her. The two of them were completely toyed with by her. However, he could beat them at their own game. Didn't Yin Hui want to see his corpse? Then let her see it. Qin Feiyang's eyes flickered. He looked at Wang Dehai and the other man and smiled. I'm very satisfied with your performance. As long as you're satisfied, can you let us go now? The two of them looked at Qin Feiyang nervously. Don't worry. It's not over yet. I still need your help. Qin Feiyang smiled. It's our honor to serve you. Go ahead. The two of them smiled flatteringly. Qin Feiyang said, before you say anything, you have to let me control you first. Control. The smiles on their faces froze. Don't be nervous. After Yin Hui dies, I will immediately remove my control over you, Qin Feiyang said. This. The two of them hesitated. Once it was controlled, it would not be up to them to decide whether to release it. Qin Feiyang asked, do you know about Gu Yong? Of course. He's Feng Yuan's confidant. The two of them nodded. And the group of guards behind her, who were also the guards of the treasure pavilion, each of them exuded an aura that was no lower than a perfected Sir God. Shang Guanqiu said in a deep voice, where is Zhang Haotian? Stairs. The middle-aged man said, bring me there immediately. Shang Guanqiu shouted. Yes. The middle-aged man nodded and immediately ran upstairs. Soon the two of them entered a room, the floor covered in blood. Shang Guanqiu glanced around the room and did not see Qin Feiyang and the mermaid princess. He frowned and said, where is he? He's gone. The middle-aged man shook his head. He's gone. Even if he's dead, there should be a corpse. Shang Guanqiu said angrily. Please forgive me, Steward Shangguan. Please listen to me slowly. Not long ago, there was a sudden pressure in this room. Our waiter sensed the pressure and immediately came to inquire. But at that time, young Master Zhang said that there was nothing wrong and asked the waiter to leave. However, not long after that, another scream rang out. And it was young Master Zhang's voice. The waiter sensed that something was wrong and immediately ran over to check. Just as the waiter forced the door open, two black shadows took young Master Zhang's corpse and rushed out of the window. The waiter chased after them, but the two black shadows were too fast and disappeared in a few blinks of an eye. So now we don't know where young Master Zhang's corpse is? The middle-aged man said. Damn it. A cold light flashed in Shang Guanqiu's eyes. The middle-aged man exclaimed, Miss Shangguan, this has nothing to do with our restaurant. Please don't make things difficult for us. Shang Guanqiu looked at the middle-aged man with a gloomy expression. He turned to the guard standing outside the door and shouted, go and check it out immediately. Even if you have to turn Sky Dragon City upside down, you must find him. Yes. The group of guards responded respectfully, then turned and left in a hurry. Chapter 2187. Time flew by. The sky gradually turned white. The news of Qin Feiyang's death had spread to Ninth Heaven Palace. Many disciples couldn't help but sigh. South City. In a huge mansion. Inside a certain hall. The door of the hall was tightly shut. Two people were sitting inside. They were Wang Dehai and Li Changfeng. In the middle of the hall there was a corpse. It was bloody and unbearable to look at. The appearance and figure of the corpse were exactly the same as Qin Feiyang's. Wang Dehai and Li Changfeng didn't speak. There was dead silence in the hall. As time passed, the sun gradually rose from the horizon and everything came back to life. Swoosh! Suddenly, a white figure appeared in the hall out of thin air. It was a woman. She looked to be in her 30s. She had a good figure and was still charming. Wang Dehai and Li Changfeng immediately stood up and welcomed her with a smile. That's right. This woman was Yin Hui. How was it? We didn't disappoint you, right? Both of them looked at Yin Hui and smiled. Yin Hui said, although I'm willing to believe you, I still have to confirm it. Go ahead. Wang Dehai and Li Changfeng smiled. Yin Hui walked step by step towards Qin Feiyang, who was lying on the ground. She kept glancing at Qin Feiyang. When she was in front of Qin Feiyang, Yin Hui sized him up. Suddenly, she raised her arm and a wisp of divine power appeared. What are you doing? Wang Dehai and Li Changfeng looked at her suspiciously. Yin Hui's eyes were filled with resentment. She said harshly, he killed my husband and my children. If I don't tear him into pieces, how can I vent my hatred? As she finished speaking, the wisp of divine power turned into a light blade and slashed towards Qin Feiyang's corpse. In an instant, flesh and blood flew everywhere. In a short while a whole person was chopped into pieces by her. The cruel means and bloody scene made Wang Dehai and Li Changfeng's scalp tingle. Phew! After a while, Yin Hui let out a long breath. The resentment between her eyebrows finally dissipated. Yin Hui, we have killed him for you. Where's the vein of soul that you promised us? Wang Dehai asked. Soul line? A look of mockery flashed across Yin Hui's eyes. She turned to Wang Dehai and Zhang Rushuang and asked, where is Zhang Fire Lotus, Zhang Rushuang, and Zhang Haotian? Wang Dehai said, their fates will be even worse. What do you mean? Yin Hui was taken aback and asked curiously. Wang Dehai laughed. They are accompanying our son now. That's right. These two brats have gotten a huge bargain this time. Li Zhangfeng also laughed. Haha, Yin Hui laughed heartily and said, you've done well. But these three women must be killed after this. Understood. The two nodded and urged, hurry up and give us the soul vein. Soul line, she looked at the two of them and said, that blood sword and his interspatial ring should be in your hands, right? And he seems to have a spatial divine item. Yes. The two of them nodded. Yin Hui sneered. After reaping so many benefits, you still want the soul vein? What do you mean? The two of them raised their eyebrows. Isn't the meaning obvious? Of course. If you insist on the soul vein, it's not impossible. But you have to exchange it with that blood sword. Yin Hui said. You lied to us? The two of them were furious. You are stupid. How can I give you something like the soul vein? Yin Hui sneered. The two of them were furious. Enough. You didn't lose out this time. Be content. I have something to do. Goodbye. After Yin Hui said that, she opened an altar and walked up without looking back. Bitch, you can continue to be smug. It will be your death soon. Wang Dehai and Li Changfeng stared at Yin Hui angrily, but they were laughing coldly in their hearts. Sky Dragon Sea. Above the coast, a woman appeared. Who else could it be but Yin Hui? She stood in the void and looked at the sea silently for a long time. One Hai Zijuan Zihan, father, I have avenged you. You can rest in peace. After a while, Yin Hui muttered and turned into a stream of light, entering the Sky Dragon Sea. She was very cautious. Along the way, she was observing to see if anyone was following her. More than an hour passed. An island came into her sight. The island was huge and she couldn't see the end of it. The island was covered with shrubs and weeds, making it look extremely desolate. Moreover, she could see the traces of sea beasts everywhere. The cultivation of these sea beasts were very powerful. The weakest one was a perfect god of war. Yin Hui scanned the sea behind her. Seeing that no one was following her, she entered the island and flew deep into it. After a few hundred breaths, she entered the center of the island. There was a village in the mountains below. The village was built with simple wooden buildings. There were about 500 to 600 people in the village. Apart from the elderly and children, the rest of the people were cultivating. Yin Hui landed in the sky above the village. Looking at the people in the village, there was a smile in her eyes. Following that, she took out a black jade pendant from her arms. The jade pendant was shaped like a crescent moon. It was as black as ink and exuded a mysterious aura. Yin Hui released a wisp of divine power and entered the crescent moon jade pendant. A black light suddenly swept out from the crescent moon jade pendant and shot toward the village below. However, before the black light could reach the village, a black barrier suddenly appeared in the air above the village. The barrier enveloped the entire village. After the barrier appeared, Yin Hui slowly descended. A door of light automatically appeared above the black barrier. Yin Hui directly entered the village through the door of light. After Yin Hui entered, the door of light slowly closed. The barrier also slowly disappeared in the air, as if it had never appeared. Now that I've taken the initiative to appear in front of you, why are you still at a loss? Qin Feiyang said suspiciously. Yin Hui clenched her hands and shouted hysterically, "Why aren't you dead? You still can't think of this?" Qin Feiyang was stunned and shook his head. "I seem to have overestimated your IQ." Yin Hui's brows were tightly knitted together. "All right. Let me tell you. The corpse that you saw in Wang Dehai's house wasn't mine. It was a servant in Wang Dehai's house. Wang Dehai asked him to disguise as me, and then he became my scapegoat," Qin Feiyang said. "What?" Yin Hui's body shook and she said angrily, "These two damn things. How dare they lie to me? Don't blame them. They were forced to do it. Because if they didn't cooperate with me, they would have to die." Qin Feiyang smiled. Yin Hui said in a low voice, "You saw through their intentions?" "Initially I didn't. I almost died in their hands. However, I have a good character. I received help from an expert to avert this calamity," Qin Feiyang said. The expert he was referring to was naturally the weapon spirit. "Expert?" Yin Hui was suspicious. "You don't have to care about this. Master, please help me subdue Wang Dehai and the rest. Then I will kill their sons in front of them. They will be scared and confess everything. Then I thought of a plan to beat them at their own game. I used an illusion to deceive you and followed you secretly to find your hiding place. In other words, since you activated the teleportation altar in Wang Dehai's house and left, I have been following you. When you returned here and activated the black barrier, I followed you in." Qin Feiyang smiled. Translator. Atlas Studios Editor. Atlas Studios. Chapter 2188. Who's that expert? How dare you ruin my plans? Yin Hui roared. "It's better that you don't know." Qin Feiyang laughed. "What if I insist on knowing?" Yin Hui laughed sinisterly and said, "You're really bold to come here alone. Why? You didn't kill me last time and now you want to kill me again?" Qin Feiyang said. "You're right. And this time you're the one who walked right into my trap." Yin Hui's eyes were filled with murderous intent. She soared into the sky like lightning and charged toward Qin Feiyang. "Do you think you can kill me?" Qin Feiyang sneered and said indifferently, "What else do you want to see? Come out." Swoosh. Before he finished his words, two men and a woman appeared out of thin air. The woman immediately stood in front of Qin Feiyang and slapped Yin Hui. With a puff, Yin Hui flew out on the spot and blood gushed out of her mouth. "There's someone else?" Yin Hui was surprised. "Mu Tianyang. Shangguan Fenglan. Master." But when she saw the faces of the three people, Yin Hui's face turned pale. Why were Master and Shangguan Fenglan here? "I asked Mu Tianyang to bring them here. And since you appeared in Wang Dehai's house, they have been watching in the dark," Qin Feiyang said. Yin Hui's eyes trembled. They had been watching in the dark. Didn't this mean that they already knew everything about her? Elder Yun looked at Yin Hui in disappointment and said, "Yin Hui, do you remember what I told you 5 years ago when I sent you away from Jiutian Palace?" Yin Hui quivered and looked at Elder Yun. "This old man wants you to forget your hatred. Take your Yin and Jin family members and find a place to live peacefully. But how did you do it?" Elder Yun asked. "Forget the hatred," Yin Hui murmured and smiled sadly. "Master, I want to forget it too. But how can I forget such a deep blood feud?" "You still have reason?" Although Feng Yuan, Feng Wenhai, Feng Zijuan, and Feng Zihan did indeed die at Zhang Haoyan's hands, wasn't it all caused by you? Zhang Haoyan only retaliated. What's wrong with that? Do you want him to stand still and let you kill him? Shangguan Fenglan shouted. When Yin Hui heard this, she could not help but tremble both physically and mentally. "You're actually still so stubborn even now. Yin Hui, oh Yin Hui, have you let down your master's good intentions? 5 years ago, your master deceived everyone and saved you from right under our noses. In order to prevent us from finding you, we even gave you the heavenly domain divine stone. Do you know what kind of effect it will have on him if these things are exposed to the world? If the great elder finds out about this, What consequences will your master face? Have you thought about this? Shangguan Fenglan said angrily. Yin Hui was flustered. Alas! Isn't it good to live? Do you have to come here to seek your own death? Shangguan Fenglan sighed deeply. Plop! Yin Hui knelt in the void and looked at Elder Yun. Master, I'm sorry. I've disappointed you. Elder Yun sighed. Is there any point in saying this now? Yin Hui's body stiffened. She hurriedly said, Master, I don't want to die. Please help me. Elder Yun said. This old man has already helped you once. Yin Hui begged. Then can you help me a second time? Elder Yun, Hall Master Shangguan, I beg you, please give us a way out. The others in the village also knelt on the ground and begged, including the children. Shangguan Fenglan looked at everyone, especially those pitiful children. She could not help but feel sympathy for them. She turned to look at Elder Yun and said, Elder Yun, why don't we? I object. But before Shangguan Fenglan could finish, Qin Feiyang spoke expressionlessly. Shangguan Fenglan turned to look at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang looked at Shangguan Fenglan and Elder Yun and said, I asked Mu Tianyang to bring you here not for you to sympathize with them, but for you to see their nature clearly. After that, Qin Feiyang looked at Elder Yun alone and said, especially you. You risked universal condemnation to save her. But how did she repay you? Elder Yun asked without turning his head. Then in your opinion? I've always been a person with a debtor for every injustice. Originally, other than Feng Yuan's family, I didn't plan to attack the Yin and Jin families. They didn't need to hide at all. But because of your selfishness, Yin Hui escaped the net of the log. It's fine if she repents and turns over a new leaf, but she still hasn't changed. In the end, all of this was caused by you, Elder Yun, so you shouldn't ask me but yourself, Qin Feiyang said. Elder Yun was silent. Mu Tianyang's eyes flashed and he cupped his hands and said, Elder Yun, we respect you and please respect us. The same mistake can't be made a second time. Elder Yun looked at Yin Hui, and after a long time, he sighed and said, Yes, the same mistake can't be made a second time. Master, Yin Hui's expression changed. Don't call me master anymore. From now on, I don't have a disciple like you. Your life and death have nothing to do with me. Elder Yun shook his head. Yin Hui suddenly collapsed in the void, her face full of despair. Temple Master. Mu Tianyang looked at Shangguan Fenglan. Shangguan Fenglan sighed, walked to Yin Hui and said, In your next life, be a good person. After saying that, she raised her arm, and divine power surged in her palm. But at this moment, Elder Yun, who had been motionless, suddenly turned and rushed to Qin Feiyang, then grabbed Qin Feiyang's neck. Mu Tianyang was shocked and shouted, Elder Yun, what are you doing? Qin Feiyang also glared at Elder Yun. At the same time, hearing Mu Tianyang's shout, Shangguan Fenglan was stunned, then turned her head to look, and her face was instantly full of surprise and doubt. Yin Hui and the people in the village below also had a look of surprise on their faces. But then, Yin Hui took out a dagger shining with cold light, and while Shangguan Fenglan was not paying attention, she angrily stabbed into Shangguan Fenglan's qi. Puff! Shangguan Fenglan immediately spat out a mouthful of blood, then looked at Yin Hui with a gloomy face, and anger rose in her eyes. Who do you think you are, to want to kill me? Now I'll kill you first. Yin Hui laughed, waved the dagger in her hand, and directly stabbed at the top of Shangguan Fenglan's head. You're courting death. Shangguan Fenglan said word by word, her murderous aura soaring to the sky, and her divine sense emerged like a torrent, exuding an aura of destruction. Although her qi was destroyed, her divine soul was still there. As long as her divine soul was still there, her divine sense could be turned into a powerful trump card. Looking at Shangguan Fenglan's divine sense, Yin Hui's face suddenly turned pale. She was so excited that she forgot about Shangguan Fenglan's cultivation. Shangguan Fenglan's strength was stronger than Feng Yuan's, so how could she be defeated? Even if it was just her divine sense, it was enough to crush her. Shangguan Fenglan, stop! Elder Yun shouted at the critical moment. Shangguan Fenglan raised her eyebrows and used her divine sense to control her body to retreat a few feet, then looked at Elder Yun and said, Elder Yun, what are you doing? Let her go. Elder Yun said expressionlessly. Why? Shangguan Fenglan said angrily. No reason. Just let her go, or I'll kill Jiang Haotian. Elder Yun said. Shangguan Fenglan was furious. The old man in front of her had always been selfless, and was one of the people she respected the most in Zhouqian Palace. But now why did it become like this? Mu Tianyang said in a deep voice, Elder Yun, you've been protecting Yin Hui time and time again. Aren't you afraid of angering Grand Elder? Aren't you afraid of going down in history? You don't have to worry about that. If Grand Elder really wants to blame me, I have no complaints, Elder Yun said. Why? Qin Feiyang frowned. He was willing to be punished and his reputation was ruined to save Yin Hui. This seemed to have gone beyond the boundary of the relationship between master and disciple. I said there's no reason. Shangguan Fenglan, do you want to let her go? Elder Yun looked at Shangguan Fenglan and said, Are you sure you want to do this? Shangguan Fenglan asked. Elder Yun nodded. Okay. Shangguan Fenglan took a deep breath and turned to look at Yin Hui. Don't appear in front of me again. Get lost. Yin Hui looked at Shangguan Fenglan and then at Elder Yun, then took out the black crescent jade pendant again. Whoosh! A black light flashed out, and the black boundary appeared again. But this time there was no light door on the boundary, and it quickly collapsed. Take the children and the elderly and come with us immediately. Yin Hui shouted to the adults in the village. No one can leave. But at this moment, a cold and bone-chilling voice sounded. The person who spoke was Qin Feiyang. At this moment he seemed to have changed into a different person. Not only was his body full of murderous intent, but his expression was also somewhat fierce. Shangguan Fenglan hurriedly shouted, Jiang Haotian, don't mess around. Who is messing around? Qin Feiyang was so angry that he laughed. He looked at Elder Yun and said, In fact, I have always respected you. Even when I knew that you saved Yin Hui, I didn't particularly hate you or blame you. But now I find that you are not worthy of my respect at all. I've disappointed you, Elder Yun said. I'm really disappointed. If you could have simply killed Yin Hui just now, I wouldn't have made things difficult for the others. But your behavior made me very angry. So today, whether it's the people of the Yin family or the Jin family, none of them can leave alive. Remember, it's not me who is cruel and merciless. It's you who killed them. Qin Feiyang said. Now that you are in my hands, I can end your life at any time. Do you have the ability to do so? Elder Yun was still expressionless. Don't be too confident. Because you are facing me, Jiang Haotian. Do it. Qin Feiyang shouted. Do it? Shangguan Fenglan, Yin Hui, and the others were surprised. Who was he talking to? A trace of suspicion flashed in Elder Yun's eyes. But they didn't know. At this time, there was a voice in Qin Feiyang's mind. Qin Feiyang, are you sure you want me to do it? That's right. It was the weapon spirit. Yes. Qin Feiyang replied. The weapon spirit said again. Are you really not afraid of bringing a fatal disaster to yourself? Qin Feiyang said inwardly, anyway, I've already left the Ninth Heaven Palace. What's there to be afraid of? But I'm afraid of implicating Long Tianyu. Because once I appear, Shangguan Fenglan will know that you have been lying to her before. At that time, she will definitely interrogate Long Tianyu again. The weapon spirit said. Qin Feiyang said, Don't worry, I will think of a way. All right then. As long as you can guarantee Long Tianyu's safety, I will do as you say. After the weapon spirit finished speaking, a wave of death energy suddenly rushed out of Qin Feiyang's body like a volcanic eruption. Elder Yun, who was caught off guard, was directly sent flying as if he had been hit by a heavy blow. A trace of blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. Chapter 2189. What? Shangguan Fenglan glanced at Elder Yun, then looked at Qin Feiyang, her face full of shock. He actually injured Elder Yun? The people in the village below were all dumbfounded, especially Yin Hui. As Elder Yun's disciple, she naturally knew Elder Yun's strength. Could be said that even Shangguan Fenglan, the palace master, was not Elder Yun's opponent. Even in the entire Nine Heavens Palace, Elder Yun's strength could be ranked in the top 10. However, at this moment he was actually injured by Jiang Haotian. Was this a dream? Elder Yun himself was also extremely shocked. He never thought that this kid in front of him, in addition to the blood sword, actually hit such a terrifying method. Wait! Suddenly, Elder Yun's pupils contracted. Why was this death force so familiar? Shangguan Fenglan seemed to have the same feeling, and a trace of surprise appeared in her eyes. Qin Feiyang glanced at Yin Hui and sneered. Don't you want to know who that expert is? I'll let you see his elegance now. Yin Hui was shocked. Listening to these words, this death force was not Zhang Haotian himself? What kind of expert was actually not a match for her master? Old Yun, little girl Shangguan, long time no see. Accompanied by a hoarse laughter, the gray castle rushed out from Qin Feiyang's body. It's you. The two's eyes trembled as they stared at the gray castle. The artifact spirit appeared, standing beside Qin Feiyang, and joked, Yes, it's me. You. Whether it was Shangguan Fenglan or Elder Yun, their eyes were filled with killing intent. The artifact spirit said playfully, It seems that all these years you still miss me. Shangguan Fenglan's face sank, looking at Qin Feiyang, and said, Didn't you say that in the far west? But before Shangguan Fenglan finished speaking, Qin Feiyang coldly said, Is this still important? Bastard! You and madman are lying to me. Shangguan Fenglan said angrily. I'm sorry. Qin Feiyang said. I don't need your apology. I just want to ask you. Do you know where it came from? You actually colluded with it. Shangguan Fenglan said in a deep voice. I don't know. But that's not important. As long as it can help me. For example, now that I'm facing Elder Yun's unreasonable behavior, at least I won't be beaten up. Qin Feiyang said lightly. You, Shangguan Fenglan gritted her teeth in anger. It's still the same. You have to pay the price for your mistakes. Artifact spirit, do it. Qin Feiyang said expressionlessly. Old man Yuan, little girl Shangguan, Zhang Haotian didn't say that he wanted to kill you, so I won't attack you. But you'd better be tactful and stand there obediently. Don't interfere with their lives. The artifact spirit snickered. The power of death flooded the sky like a tidal wave, instantly enveloping the entire village. What is this? Why do I feel like my vitality and chi and blood are being drained away? Everyone immediately panicked. All of you stop right there. Seeing this, Elder Yun was furious. His divine power surged out and punched towards the artifact spirit in Qin Feiyang. You're really not honest at all. The artifact spirit smiled coldly. With a clang, his body shattered the sky and blasted towards Elder Yun. Boom! Accompanied by a deafening loud noise, Elder Yun flew out again, blood spurting out. After so many years, you really haven't made any progress. You're still so weak. The artifact spirit laughed disdainfully. Elder Yun looked at the artifact spirit gloomily and suddenly said, Shangguan Fenglan, immediately return to the Ninth Heaven Palace and report to the Great Elder. Okay. Shangguan Fenglan nodded. Don't think about going anywhere. The artifact spirit snorted coldly. A gray barrier appeared in an instant. That's right. This was the domain of death that trapped Qin Feiyang and the madman. That time, just this domain of death alone made the two of them despair. As soon as the domain of death appeared, everyone was shrouded in it. The power of death that robbed vitality also increased countless times in an instant. Even Shangguan Fenglan almost couldn't bear it. Save me! The people in the village, accompanied by desperate cries, fell to the ground one after another and died. Yin Hui was burning with anxiety and roared, Master, quickly help us. Her vitality were also crazily draining. Her body had already shriveled up, and her face was covered with dry wrinkles. Elder Yun was also extremely anxious. Looking at Qin Feiyang, he said, Zhang Haotian, quickly make it stop. However, Qin Feiyang turned a deaf ear. Elder Yun roared, As long as you let her go, this old man will agree to do anything. And Qin Feiyang frowned. He would agree to anything? What was the relationship between this old man and Yin Hui? Zhang Haotian, you bastard, will fight it out with you. Suddenly, several old men with monarch god cultivation suddenly roared and rushed towards Qin Feiyang. Boom! Before they got close, their bodies exploded in the void. What? Yin Hui's face was pale. They actually self-destructed their bodies? Elder Yun's expression also changed abruptly. He hurriedly waved his hand and condensed a divine power barrier. enveloping Yin Hui and the people from the Yin and Jin families who were still alive. At the same time, Mu Tianyang also quickly rushed to Qin Feiyang's side. The self-destruction of a monarch god-level expert was not a child's play. With his perfect war god cultivation, he had no room to resist at all. So, he ran to Qin Feiyang's side. Because he knew that the Grey Castle would definitely protect Qin Feiyang. And protecting Qin Feiyang was equivalent to protecting him. However, Shangguan Fenglan and Elder Yun did not take any defensive measures. Their cultivation was too strong. The self-destruction of a monarch god was not a threat to them. Boom! Gotcha! The moment they self-destructed, the destructive shockwave surged out in all directions with an earth-shattering force. Immediately, inside the death domain, the void was annihilated and the earth collapsed. Countless sea beasts on the island heard the commotion and fled in fear. Just as Mu Tianyang expected, when the airwaves surged, the Grey Castle flashed and stood in front of them, shining with divine light. Whether it was Qin Feiyang or Mu Tianyang, under the protection of the Grey Castle, they were not harmed at all. What? The death domain is not broken? Suddenly, a cry of surprise was heard. The people in the village looked at the grey barrier that imprisoned them with disbelief in their eyes. They originally thought that the self-destruction of a few monarch gods would be enough to destroy the death domain. On one hand, the few elders wanted to die together with Qin Feiyang. On the other hand, they wanted to break the death domain and give Yin Hui and the others a chance to escape. But they never expected that in the face of such a violent impact, the death domain did not even shake. You think you can shake my domain of death with the strength of an ant? What a joke! The weapon spirit glanced at the group of people contemptuously. The power of death was surging and pervasive. Although the divine barrier set up by Elder Yun could block the fluctuations of the self-destruction, it could not block the invasion of the power of death. Sister Hui, I don't want to die. Save me. Everyone looked at Yin Hui in despair. But Yin Hui had no other choice. She could only watch the people of the two families fall one by one. In less than 5 breaths, there were only a dozen people left in the barrier. The weakest of them was a half-step to the god realm. Their blood and vitality were more vigorous than the others, so they were still alive. But at this moment they were already at death's door. Death was only a matter of time. Looking at the desperate faces, Yin Hui felt like a knife was being twisted in her heart. She turned to look at Qin Feiyang and shouted, Zhang Haoyan, the person who wants to kill you is me. It has nothing to do with them. Let them go. Gao Xiaohui has nothing to do with us. But why didn't your daughter Feng Zihan let her go 5 years ago? Qin Feiyang said coldly. Yin Hui was unable to refute. She suddenly knelt in the void and shouted, I'll kneel to you, okay? If you knew this would happen, why did you do it in the first place? Qin Feiyang shook his head and sighed. Yes. It's all my Feng family's fault. If you kill me, I'll die for them. Yin Hui said. Qin Feiyang said, I'm sorry, but when I do things, I will never leave a source of trouble. The dozen people also fell down in despair one after another, basically turning into dried corpses. Yin Hui did not have the strength to speak again, because there was not much blood and vitality left in her body. Despair and helplessness shrouded her heart. The Grey Castle was too terrifying. Even her master could not save her and her clansmen. Old man Yun, she is your daughter. Are you really going to watch her die? Suddenly, a furious roar was heard. Qin Feiyang, Mu Tianyang, Shangguan Fenglan, and the artifact spirit were all stunned. Daughter? Elder Yun's eyes trembled slightly as he looked at the person who spoke. The person who spoke was the head of the Yin family, Yin Hui's biological father. At this moment, he was also lying on the ground powerlessly. There was no anger on his face, but his eyes were full of anger when he looked at Elder Yun. Yin Hui also looked at the head of the Yin family in shock and said, Father, what did you say? At this moment, only Yin Hui and the head of the Yin family were still alive. As for the people of the Jin family, they were all dead. The head of the Yin family sighed and looked at Yin Hui. Actually Elder Yun is your biological father. What? Yin Hui's body stiffened. Qin Feiyang and the others also looked at each other. Elder Yun was actually Yin Hui's biological father? Qin Feiyang came back to his senses and looked at the artifact spirit. Wait a moment. The artifact spirit nodded. The power of death immediately dissipated. The scene was dead silent. Everyone had a look of bewilderment. Only Elder Yun lowered his head. He seemed to have fallen into endless self-blame and regret. A moment later, Shangguan Fenglan also finally came back to her senses. She turned to look at Elder Yun and asked, "Elder Yun, is this true?" Elder Yun looked up at Shangguan Fenglan and then at Yin Hui. He nodded and said, "It's true." Shangguan Fenglan was stunned. Qin Feiyang and Mu Tianyang looked at each other. There was a trace of realization in their eyes. Why would Elder Yun protect Yin Hui again and again? It turned out that there was such a relationship. However, this was not too unbelievable. Since Elder Yun was Yin Hui's biological father, then why was Yin Hui in the Yin family? Chapter 2190. Yin Hui really didn't know. W. R. A. N. W. Ana. C. O. M. Hearing Elder Yun's reply, her face was full of disbelief. This old man who had been taking care of her and caring for her was actually her biological father? Suddenly having such a father was even more unreal than a dream. Hui-er, I know it's hard for you to accept, but I didn't lie to you. He really is your biological father. Otherwise, with his cold and arrogant personality, how could he have taken you as a disciple and taken care of you so much? The patriarch of the Yin family said. Yin Hui was in a daze. She looked at the patriarch of the Yin family and asked, "What's going on?" The patriarch of the Yin family said, "This matter started when you were just born. Back then, not long after giving birth to you, your mother was killed. Killed?" Before the patriarch of the Yin family could finish, Yin Hui's eyes trembled. She asked who killed her. The patriarch of the Yin family glanced at Elder Yun and sighed. "The person who killed your mother was none other than your biological father, Elder Yun." What? Yin Hui's body trembled. She turned to look at Elder Yun. Qin Feiyang and the others were also shocked. Elder Yun actually killed his own wife? How was that possible? They looked at Elder Yun again. He lowered his head. The self-blame and regret on his face were even stronger. The patriarch of the Yin family looked at Yin Hui and said, "Actually, your biological father didn't kill your mother on purpose." "Then why?" Yin Hui asked. The patriarch of the Yin family took a deep breath and said, "Your biological father has inner demons." Inner demons. Qin Feiyang was shocked and looked at Elder Yun. This person actually had inner demons? I believe I don't need to tell you about inner demons. Back then, your mother gave birth to you, which made him very happy and excited. Therefore, he let down his guard against the inner demons. It was also at this time that the inner demons suddenly attacked. They controlled his mind and killed your mother. After this happened, he blamed himself and couldn't face you anymore. So when you were a little more than a year old, he handed you to me and asked me to take care of you. He also asked you to take my surname. When I was young, I had a very good relationship with him. I also knew about his situation, so I agreed. The patriarch of the Yin family sighed. I see. Qin Feiyang and the others suddenly understood. No wonder Elder Yun blamed himself so much. If it were anyone else, they probably wouldn't be able to face such a thing. Yin Hui asked, "What happened after that?" After that, he disappeared for a year. No one knows where he went. I also went to look for him, but there was no trace of him at all. Later, when he came back, I found out that he had gone to sever his inner demons. On the one hand, it's the inner demons that killed your mother. They must be killed. On the other hand, if he doesn't destroy the inner demons, he won't be able to become a god. He did it. He successfully destroyed the inner demons. Originally, I wanted to say that since the inner demons have been destroyed, I should just hand you over to him. But your father still couldn't cross the hurdle in his heart. After accompanying you for a while, he prepared to enter the Empyrean Palace after breaking through to the War God realm. Your father's talent is very good. When we first met, my cultivation was several realms higher than his. But in a few years he caught up to me. After he entered the Empyrean Palace, he received a better cultivation environment and resources than outside. The talent he displayed became even more terrifying. His rise was unstoppable. In the end, He relied on his extraordinary ability to become the hall master of the law enforcement hall. Your father is really an amazing man. The patriarch of the Yin family smiled. The hall master of the law enforcement hall? Qin Feiyang and Mu Tianyang were stunned. Shangguan Fenglan sighed and said, Elder Yun was the previous hall master of the law enforcement hall. I see. The two of them nodded in realization. No wonder Shangguan Fenglan was so respectful to him. It turned out that he was so experienced. After that, he came to find me and said that he wanted you to enter the Empyrean Palace because it would be easier to take care of you. I didn't refuse. After all, he is your real father. After you entered the Empyrean Palace and displayed good talent, he took you in as his disciple, because this way he could take care of you legitimately. You know what happened after that? I won't say any more. The patriarch of the Yin family said. Yin Hui was in a daze. She turned to look at Elder Yun and asked, Is that so? Elder Yun raised his head and looked at Yin Hui. After a long time he nodded and said yes. His voice was extremely hoarse. This person was also extremely haggard. Yin Hui's body swayed. She muttered, Just because you killed my mother by mistake, you abandoned me? No. I didn't abandon you. Since you entered the Empyrean Palace, I have been secretly protecting you. No matter what, I gave you the best. Elder Yun hurriedly said, Protect me. Give me the best. Do you think this can make up for what you owe me? Let me tell you it's impossible. Yin Hui roared. Elder Yun lowered his head. His expression was incomparably gloomy. In this life I only have one father, and that is him. As Yin Hui spoke, she walked to the side of the patriarch of the Yin family. The patriarch of the Yin family looked at Elder Yun and hurriedly said, Huir, don't be like this. Father, I know you said these things because you want him to save me, but now I don't need him. I would rather die than acknowledge this father. Because he is not worthy. Yin Hui said. Huir. The patriarch of the Yin family shouted. Elder Yun raised his head and looked at the patriarch of the Yin family. He sighed and said, Brother Yin, don't say any more. But, the patriarch of the Yin family frowned. Elder Yun waved his hand and looked at Yin Hui. Actually, I know that you resent me for not helping Feng Wenhai and the others back then. Isn't that so? Wenhai is your son-in-law. Zihan and Zijuan are also your grandchildren. How heartless are you to actually leave them in the lurch? The patriarch of the Yin family shouted. Although they are my family, we must have principles as people. Right is right. Wrong is wrong. I can't harm an innocent young man because of you. Moreover, 5 years ago when Jiang Haoqian killed Zihan, I did my best to stop him. But you all know the result. I can't do it. Elder Yun said. As a person, one must have principles, Qin Feiyang muttered. He was quite gratified by Elder Yun's words, because at least it meant that Elder Yun had not truly fallen. And what he had done previously was purely to save his daughter. And all these years, Feng Yuan instigated you and Feng Wenhai to take over Shangguan Fenglan and control the law enforcement hall. I saw all these. But as the previous hall master of the law enforcement hall, why should I pretend to be deaf and dumb? It's because of you. Elder Yun shouted. Yin Hui's eyes trembled. And, do you think that what happened 5 years ago is really just a grudge between you and Jiang Haoqian? No. This is a trap set by the first elder. Elder Yun said. What? A trap set by the first elder? Yin Hui was shocked. That's right. In fact, the first elder has long known about the shady business that Feng Yuan did in the resource hall. He even knew that you took over Shangguan Fenglan and tried to control the law enforcement hall. But due to Feng Yuan's status in Zhoqian Palace and your identity as this old man's disciple, he couldn't do anything to you openly. So he asked Shangguan Fenglan to arrange a plan to get rid of you. Coincidentally, Jiang Haoqian entered Zhoqian Palace and showed a terrifying mind in scheming. So, Jiang Haoqian became a sharp blade for them to eradicate you. Elder Yun sighed. Yin Hui was dumbfounded. She looked at Shangguan Fenglan and said, So it's all because of you and the first elder behind the scenes. Yes. However, if you weren't so rampant, why would we do anything to you? Shangguan Fenglan said lightly. Ridiculous. I always thought that it was Jiang Haoqian who destroyed our Feng clan with his own ability, so it was you who helped him in the dark. Yin Hui laughed self-deprecatingly. Wrong. We didn't help Zhang Haotian with anything. He did destroy your Feng clan with his own ability, Shangguan Fenglan said. Yin Hui looked at Qin Feiyang, the hatred in her eyes undisguised. Elder Yun said, because I owed you, I indulged you. No matter what you did, I was confident that I could save you from Zhoutian Palace. After coming out of seclusion, you joined forces with Jin Yunchang and used Zijie to frame Zhang Haotian and the others. In the end, not only did the plan fail, but it also fell into Zhang Haotian's hands. I pretended to kill you and send you out of Zhoutian Palace. I thought that after learning this lesson you would let go. But I didn't expect that you still wanted to kill Zhang Haotian. This is a disaster caused by you. What can you do to this old man? Elder Yun looked at Yin Hui helplessly. Yin Hui shouted, then why didn't you tell us that this was a trap set up by the first elder? Because I only found out later. Elder Yun sighed. Yin Hui fell silent. Elder Yun sighed and walked toward Qin Feiyang step by step, then knelt in front of Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang frowned. Elder Yun lowered his head and said, Zhang Haotian, this old man rarely begs others. Now this old man begs you to let her go. As expected, he's begging for mercy. Qin Feiyang muttered. This old man is willing to apologize with my death for her. And I promise you that this kind of thing won't happen a second time. Elder Yun said. Apologize with your death? Qin Feiyang was stunned. He was determined to save Yin Hui. But he had to admit that a father's love was great. Get up, I won't allow you to beg him like this. Yin Hui rushed to Elder Yun's side furiously. Then she grabbed Elder Yun's arm and tried to pull him up. However, old Yun didn't even move. He raised his head, looked at Qin Feiyang and said, please understand my feelings as a father. My head is right in front of you. You can take it away at any time. Did you hear that? Get up. What right does he have to make you kneel? Yin Hui shouted in exasperation. Chapter 2191. Right now your life is in his hands. That is his right. Elder Yun said. Yin Hui said angrily, with your strength you can't break this realm of death? As long as the realm of death disappeared, they could easily escape. Yes. Elder Yun nodded. Yin Hui's expression suddenly became sluggish. Elder Yun looked at the artifact spirit and the gray castle floating beside Qin Feiyang. There was deep fear in his eyes as he said, its strength is something you will never be able to imagine. It seems that you still remember what happened back then. The weapon spirit joked. Back then, you slaughtered most of the disciples of the Divine Palace. How can we forget this kind of blood feud? Elder Yun shouted. What? Slaughtered most of the disciples of the Divine Palace? Qin Feiyang and Mu Tianyang looked at each other, their eyes full of surprise. Who told you to provoke this, Lord? The weapon spirit sneered. Mu Tianyang transmitted his voice, Lord, is this true? Yes. At that time, I hadn't become the Lord of the Law Enforcement Hall. Shangguan Fenglan nodded. Little girl, when this Lord saw you in the Divine Palace, I already knew that you were not a fish in a pond. As expected, it didn't take long for you to become the Lord of the Law Enforcement Hall. The weapon spirit laughed in a hoarse voice. You used to be a disciple of the Divine Palace? Qin Feiyang and Elder Yun looked at Shangguan Fenglan in surprise. Yes. When it came to the Divine Palace to slaughter, I saw the whole process with my own eyes. I still can't forget that bloody scene. Shangguan Fenglan said in a deep voice. Qin Feiyang asked suspiciously, then why did it slaughter the Divine Palace? Just for a small matter. At that time, a disciple of the Divine Palace accidentally came across it. That disciple was greedy and wanted to control it. You can imagine the result. Not only did that disciple not get what he wanted, but he also died in its hands. Because of this, it vented its anger on the entire Divine Palace. Overnight, most of the disciples of the Divine Palace died in its hands. Since then we have been looking for it, but it seemed to have disappeared from the world. We searched the entire northern region but couldn't find it. Shangguan Fenglan said. I see. Qin Feiyang suddenly understood. If what Shangguan Fenglan said was true, this demonic creature was indeed ferocious. But then again, how could they be called demons if they weren't ferocious? This venerable one's magic power reaches the heavens and possesses remarkable abilities. How could you small fries find me? The artifact spirit said disdainfully. Shangguan Fenglan sneered. Then aren't you in Zhang Haoyan's hands now? The artifact spirit smiled awkwardly and said. He's an exception. Moreover, this sovereign is willing to follow him. Willing? How can a monster like you have the resources to follow a human? Shangguan Fenglan sneered. It's getting more and more interesting. The artifact spirit muttered secretly, and a terrifying aura surged out, causing Yin Hui to be sent flying on the spot. Immediately, the wound on Qin Feiyang's lower abdomen was exposed to everyone's eyes. It's actually purple gold blood? The Yin family patriarch also looked at Qin Feiyang's lower abdomen in surprise. This place once again fell into a dead silence. Phew! Suddenly, Qin Feiyang let out a long breath, took out a spirit sea pill, and threw it into his mouth. With the bloodline power exposed, he was relieved. Shangguan Fenglan also finally came back to her senses, looked up at Qin Feiyang and asked, Zhang Haoyan, you are? Elder Yuan Yin Hui, and the Yin family patriarch also came back to their senses when they heard Shangguan Fenglan's voice, and immediately raised their heads to look at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang glanced at the four of them and said lightly, if I say that this is not purple gold dragon blood, you will definitely not believe me, so I simply admit it. Shangguan Fenglan said again, how do you have the bloodline power of the purple gold dragon blood? In fact, she had already thought of it, but she found it hard to accept. Because I am the descendant of Qin Batian, Qin Feiyang said. Shangguan Fenglan's eyes trembled. Since he had admitted it himself, then it must be true. He is actually the descendant of Qin Batian. Elder Yuan Yin Hui, and the Yin family patriarch were also in extreme disbelief. Who didn't know the name of Qin Batian? He was once an influential figure in the entire northern region, and a peerless genius who overshadowed countless geniuses. They never expected that he actually left behind a descendant, and he was as outstanding as him. After a long while, Shangguan Fenglan finally came back to her senses, looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, does Madman know? Qin Feiyang said, from the first day I entered the Ninth Heaven Palace, he knew. That bastard, he actually hid such an important matter from us. Shangguan Fenglan was extremely angry. I am really grateful to senior brother Madman, because if he didn't help me hide my identity, I might have attracted the dragons, Qin Feiyang said. First, he was also very puzzled. Why would Madman help him? It wasn't until he found the historical book in the Vice Palace Master's study, and learned about the secret of that year that he understood that Madman was protecting him. Of course, Qin Feiyang also knew. Madman protected him not because of him but because of his ancestor. In other words, Madman was protecting him on behalf of his ancestor. Dragons? Shangguan Fenglan was taken aback, and said in surprise, that's right. I already know what happened to my ancestor back then. Qin Feiyang nodded. Shangguan Fenglan said, how do you know? Did your ancestor tell you? If my ancestor told me, would I still enter the Ninth Heaven Palace? To tell you the truth, since I was born, I have never seen my ancestor. Qin Feiyang sighed, took out the historical book from the universe ring and said, it was this that let me know everything. Shangguan Fenglan looked at the historical book, and her pupils suddenly shrank. Qin Feiyang said, this is why I want to enter the Ninth Heaven Palace and enter the Vice Palace Master's study. So you entered the Ninth Heaven Palace purely to investigate your ancestor. Shangguan Fenglan suddenly understood. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. Then why did you leave the Ninth Heaven Palace? Shangguan Fenglan frowned. It's very simple. I don't want to implicate the Ninth Heaven Palace. The Ninth Heaven Palace is indebted to my ancestor, so it is also indebted to me. And my true identity will be exposed sooner or later, so I chose to leave. Qin Feiyang said. Shangguan Fenglan said, then go to the treasure pavilion and help our Ninth Heaven Palace remove the ban. Repay the kindness? Qin Feiyang said. Repay the kindness? Shangguan Fenglan murmured. Sigh. Elder Yun looked deeply at Qin Feiyang, and then turned to look at Yin Hui. Do you see? In order to repay the kindness, in order to not implicate our Ninth Heaven Palace, what did they do? And what did you do? All day long, fighting for power and profit. afraid that our ninth heaven palace will not be in chaos. Yin Hui lowered her head in shame. Actually, at the beginning, I didn't want to bother with your Feng family at all, because my goal was very clear, and that was to investigate the matter of my ancestor. But what about you? From the beginning of the assessment, you set up a trap to harm me. I believe that if it was anyone else, they wouldn't be able to endure such a thing. Qin Feiyong looked at Yin Hui and said. Yin Hui sighed faintly and said, things have already come to this. Is there any meaning in saying this? There is indeed no meaning. Qin Feiyong said. Shangguan Fenglan looked at Qin Feiyong and said, that Zhang Haotian shouldn't be your real name, right? Qin Feiyong nodded and said, my name is Qin Feiyong. Qin Feiyong. Shangguan Fenglan whispered. She suddenly bent down and bowed to Qin Feiyong, and said gratefully, thank you for all that you have done for my ninth heaven palace. Sigh. This small matter, compared to what your ninth heaven palace has done for my ancestor, what is it? Qin Feiyong sighed. I beg you, you must hold on. Yin Hui shook her head, took out a large number of life pills and God soul pills, and stuffed them into Elder Yun's mouth, but to no avail. Soon, the fluctuations of life completely dissipated. Wake up, I'll change. As long as you wake up, I will never seek revenge on Qin Feiyong again, I beg you. I've already lost too much, I can't lose you too. Yin Hui roared, tears falling like rain. Shangguan Fenglan looked at Elder Yun, then turned to look at Qin Feiyong angrily and said, he's already like this and even knelt down in front of you, can't you let him go? Qin Feiyong did not answer and looked at Yin Hui silently. Please wake up, okay? I really know I was wrong. In the future I will definitely turn over a new leaf and be a good person. Yin Hui kept crying out sorrowfully, full of regret. Why did it become like this? Qin Feiyong finally opened his mouth and asked, are you serious? Do you really know you're wrong? I really know I was wrong. Yin Hui nodded, as if she had lost her soul, as if she was a walking corpse. But now that she knew she was wrong, what could she do? Could she save the life of the old man in her arms? Qin Feiyong looked at Yin Hui, suddenly smiled, looked down at Elder Yun and said, you can get up. As his voice fell, Elder Yun immediately opened his eyes. The dissipated fluctuations of life appeared again. This is... Shangguan Fenglan's eyes widened. Yin Hui and the head of the Yin family also looked at Elder Yun in shock. What was going on? Elder Yun looked at Yin Hui with gratification, got up and looked at Qin Feiyong, bowed and said, thank you. Qin Feiyong said, no need to thank me, I just hope that in the future, she won't trouble me again. Don't worry, I will restrain her and enlighten her. If there is a next time, you don't need to do anything, I will personally end her life. Elder Yun said, that's good. Qin Feiyong nodded. Yin Hui heard the conversation between the two, looked up at the dagger on the top of Elder Yun's head, and said in confusion, Father, what is going on? Elder Yun smiled, grabbed the dagger and pulled it out directly. Blood spurted out, but he didn't look weak at all. He looked at the dagger, looked at Yin Hui, and said with a smile, actually Qin Feiyong didn't really want to kill me just now. Yin Hui was surprised. Shangguan Fenglan also looked at Elder Yun suspiciously. Elder Yun said with a smile, this knife didn't hit my soul, it only pierced through my sea of consciousness. Yin Hui was stunned and asked, why did he? Elder Yun said, do you want to say why he did this? Yes. Yin Hui nodded. He is a good person. Just before, when I was about to commit suicide, he stopped me and secretly sent me a message, saying that he wanted to test you. Elder Yun said, test? Yin Hui was more and more confused. He said that he wanted me to pretend to be killed. After I fall, if you can repent, then this matter will be dropped. And if you continue to be stubborn, then I will no longer care about your life and death. I also agreed. And in the end you didn't let me down. Elder Yun smiled with relief. I see. Shangguan Fenglan suddenly understood. Thinking about it carefully, when Qin Feiyong grabbed Elder Yun's wrist, he did pause for a moment before snatching the dagger from Elder Yun's hand. In other words, it was in a moment, Qin Feiyong and Elder Yun secretly reached an agreement. What a false alarm. Shangguan Fenglan looked at Qin Feiyong and said apologetically, I'm sorry I wronged you again. It doesn't matter. Anyway, I'm used to it. Qin Feiyong said lightly. Shangguan Fenglan smiled awkwardly. Qin Feiyong looked at Yin Hui and said, "If it wasn't for Elder Yun this time, even the gods wouldn't be able to save you. I hope you can cherish this opportunity." Yin Hui looked at Qin Feiyong with a complicated expression. After a long time she sighed and said gratefully, "Thank you." Qin Feiyong looked at Elder Yun again and said, "I have repaid the favor of you protecting my ancestor. If there is a next time I won't be merciful." "Thank you." Elder Yun also expressed his sincere gratitude. "As for you," Qin Feiyong looked at the patriarch of the Yin family. The patriarch of the Yin family immediately panicked. "Forget it. You're on your own in the future." Qin Feiyong shook his head. "Thank you, young Master Jiang." The patriarch of the Yin family was overjoyed and quickly bowed to thank him. Qin Feiyong waved his hand and nodded to the artifact spirit. The artifact spirit waved his hand, and the death domain immediately collapsed, and the death force that robbed vitality also dissipated. At this time, Shangguan Fenglan and the others were completely relieved. Chapter 2193. Alright, it's time to go. When the artifact spirit and the Grey Castle returned to the Qi Sea, Qin Feiyong said with a smile, "Go." Shangguan Fenglan was startled, and asked suspiciously, "Where to?" Qin Feiyong swept his gaze across the endless sea and laughed. "The world is so big, there must be a place where I can go." Shangguan Fenglan frowned. "You aren't going to look for the dragons, are you?" "Look for the dragons? With my current strength, would I dare to look for them? I still have this bit of self-awareness." Qin Feiyong shook his head and laughed. After saying that, he seemed to have thought of something and looked at Shangguan Fenglan. "Oh right, don't make things difficult for Long Qianyu." "Why should I make things difficult for him? He's just a child," Shangguan Fenglan said. Qin Feiyong was startled and laughed. "Then it seems that I was worried for nothing. Alright then, take care when you go back later. Help me thank your sister, and tell her not to look for Yin Hui anymore." After he finished saying those words, Qin Feiyong waved his hand and disappeared. Elder Yun looked at Qin Feiyong's back and laughed. "What a loyal and righteous young man." "That's right. This personality is too similar to his ancestors. It's a pity that our Nine Heavens Palace can't protect him, otherwise, he wouldn't have to wander outside." Shangguan Fenglan sighed. "Dragons?" Elder Yun muttered, shook his head and sighed. "This terrifying race is indeed not something that our Nine Heavens Palace can provoke." Shangguan Fenglan nodded. Suddenly, Elder Yun slapped his head and exclaimed, "Qin Feiyong, wait a minute." "What is it?" Qin Feiyong stopped and looked back at Elder Yun in confusion. Elder Yun turned to look at Yin Hui and said, "Hui, give me the crescent jade pendant." "Father, you're not going to give it to him, are you?" Yin Hui looked at Elder Yun in shock. "Don't ask, just give it to me." Elder Yun laughed. Yin Hui sighed helplessly. She took out the black crescent moon jade pendant and passed it to Elder Yun. Elder Yun immediately chased after Qin Feiyong with the jade pendant. Throughout the entire process, Qin Feiyong looked at Elder Yun suspiciously. Meanwhile, Mu Tianyang frowned as he looked at Elder Yun's back. Very soon, Elder Yun rushed in front of Qin Feiyong and stuffed the crescent jade pendant into Qin Feiyong's hand. "This is..." Qin Feiyong was suspicious. Not long ago he had seen Yin Hui use this crescent jade pendant. However, he did not know what use this jade pendant had. Elder Yun said, "This old man knows that you will fight with the dragons sooner or later. At that time, this mystic moon jade pendant will be able to save your life at a critical moment." "Divine moon jade pendant," Qin Feiyong mumbled. Elder Yun said, "This mystic moon jade pendant is made of heavenly domain divine stone. You probably don't know about heavenly domain divine stone, right?" Qin Feiyong nodded. Yin Hui was speechless and said, "Father, you really gave it to him. No matter how powerful the celestial divine stone is, it is just a worldly possession. What's the harm in giving it to him?" Elder Yun said with a smile, "You are really generous." Yin Hui complained unhappily. "Enough. Let's not talk about the past," Elder Yun said. Shangguan Fenglan glanced at Yin Hui, and then looked at Elder Yun and said, "Elder Yun, I think Qin Feiyong's true identity should continue to be hidden." "That's what this old man thinks too. Back then for Qin Batian the dragons went to war. Now, if Qin Feiyang's identity is exposed, I am afraid that the same thing will happen again. Elder Yun was worried. Sigh. Although the power of the purple gold dragon blood can give them unprecedented talent, it is also a fatal source of disaster. Shangguan Fenglan sighed. Yes, brother Yin, if the grudge is over, I hope that you can keep Qin Feiyang's identity a secret. Elder Yun looked at Yin Hui and Elder Yun and said, Don't worry. At this point, how can I still be his enemy? Right now, I just want to live the rest of my life in peace. The patriarch of the Yin family sighed. Yin Hui pondered for a while and said, If revenge breeds revenge, will there ever be an end to it? I have thought it through and will stay by your side in the future. Elder Yun and the patriarch of the Yin family looked at each other with smiles on their faces. Elder Yun suddenly turned to Shangguan Fenglan and asked, Fenglan, can Huir enter Nine Heaven Palace again? Enter Nine Heaven Palace? Of course not. Although the grudge between you and Qin Feiyang is over, the world knows about Yin Hui's death. Not to mention entering Nine Heaven Palace, even if you appear in front of others, it will cause a commotion. At that time, I'm afraid that the world will talk about you behind your back. Shangguan Fenglan was stunned and hurriedly looked at Elder Yun. Elder Yun shook his head and said, I'm not afraid of people talking. Father, let it go. Although you're not afraid, Nine Heaven Palace can't bear this infamy. Anyway, I've already seen through everything. It doesn't matter if I return to Nine Heaven Palace or not. Yin Hui said. Then Elder Yun was anxious. As a father, he naturally wanted the best for his children. In his opinion, letting Yin Hui return to Nine Heaven Palace was the best. Since I'm a dead person now, there's no need to cause a commotion. I'm going to hide my identity and find a remote place to live a new life. Yin Hui said. I'll go with you. As for hiding your identity, now that you and Elder Yun have acknowledged each other, you can go back to your original name. The patriarch of the Yin family said. Go back to my original name. Yin Hui murmured and nodded with a smile. Alright, I'll be called Yun Wang from now on. I'll forget everything in the past and live a new life. Yun Wang. The patriarch of the Yin family and Elder Yun looked at each other and shook their heads helplessly. How could she give a name so casually? However, this was Yin Hui's idea, so they couldn't say much. Shangguan Fenglan looked at Elder Yun and smiled. Then let's go back. You can go back. Elder Yun said. Shangguan Fenglan was stunned. It wasn't easy to reunite with Hui. I want to spend some time with her. When you go back, please apologize to the Great Elder on my behalf. However, although I won't return to Nine Heaven Palace, I'll always be a member of Nine Heaven Palace. In the future, if Nine Heaven Palace is in trouble, I'll rush back to help. Elder Yun said. Shangguan Fenglan smiled helplessly and nodded. Alright, I'll pass on your words to Great Elder without missing a word. Thank you for your help. Elder Yun smiled gratefully and cupped his hands. Then we'll meet again. See you later. Shangguan Fenglan also cupped her hands and smiled. Brother Yin, let's go. Elder Yun looked at Yin Hui and the patriarch of the Yin family and smiled, then turned and flew away. Yin Hui and the other two nodded to Shangguan Fenglan and Mu Tianyang, and immediately chased after Elder Yun. Shangguan Fenglan looked at the backs of the three people and shook her head. I thought that Yin Hui would definitely die, but I didn't expect it to end like this. There's nothing I can do. Who asked Yin Hui to be Elder Yun's biological daughter? And I know Qin Feiyang too well. It's hard to refuse someone who owes him a favor. Mu Tianyang said. Shangguan Fenglan was slightly stunned. She turned to look at Mu Tianyang and said, If you didn't say anything, I would have forgotten that you were here. Ugh. Mu Tianyang was stunned and said speechlessly, Is my presence that low? Shangguan Fenglan asked, Did you already know Qin Feiyang's true identity? Isn't it obvious? Mu Tianyang said. Then what about Hui? Shangguan Fenglan asked again. He doesn't know. He's the only one among us who's kept in the dark. Mu Tianyang smiled. In fact, Hui already knew that Qin Feiyang had the power of the purple gold dragon blood when Qin Feiyang fought with the black dragon. He just didn't show it. Shangguan Fenglan nodded and said, Then let's go back. Chapter 2194. You go back first, I still have something to do. Mu Tianyong said, seeming to be a little absent-minded. What can you have to do? Shangguan Fenglan frowned. Mu Tianyong was slightly stunned, and immediately looked at Shangguan Fenglan angrily saying, Palace Master, what you said makes me uncomfortable. I am also a human, why can't I have something to do? Shangguan Fenglan was stunned and said with a smile, Okay, you can go back by yourself when you are done. Be careful on the way, the Sky Dragon Sea is not a joke. Okay. Mu Tianyong nodded. Swish. Shangguan Fenglan disappeared from Mu Tianyong's sight with a teleport. Mu Tianyong hurriedly called Mu Qing out and said in a deep voice, Open the all-seeing eye and see if you can spy on Qin Feiyang. Mu Qing nodded, and a strange light suddenly appeared in his eyes, but what he saw in the end was chaos. How can this be? Mu Qing was surprised. Mu Tianyong looked at him suspiciously. Although in the Sky Dragon Sea it will affect the all-seeing eye, I can still see the general direction. But now, I can't see his trace at all, not even a trace. Mu Qing said in disbelief. There is no trace at all, Mu Tianyong murmured, and his face suddenly sank. What's wrong? Mu Qing asked. If I'm not wrong, what blocked Qin Feiyang should be that crescent jade pendant, Mu Tianyong gloomily said before asking. Artifact Spirit, do you know what that crescent jade pendant is? Yes. It is made of Sky Domain Divine Stone, and it can completely block a person's existence. A hoarse voice full of the smell of blood sounded in Mu Tianyong's body. Damn it. I actually let this guy get such a heaven-defying treasure. Mu Tianyong was furious. Although he had always been at a disadvantage in the hands of Qin Feiyang, he actually didn't care, because he still had Mu Qing. Mu Qing's all-seeing eye could spy on Qin Feiyang at any time. In other words, he could control Qin Feiyang's movements at any time and place. But now that Qin Feiyang had obtained the Divine Moon Jade Pendant, his only advantage was gone. In that case, he would be more passive when dealing with Qin Feiyang in the future. Is there a need to be so angry? Suddenly, a faint laugh rang out. They saw that Qin Feiyang, who had already left, was now standing in front of Mu Tianyong. You didn't leave? Mu Tianyong raised his eyebrows. Qin Feiyang said with a smile, I suddenly thought of you so I came back. Mu Tianyong snorted coldly, you really got a big bargain this time. Qin Feiyang said, don't be like this. We are in a cooperative relationship. What's mine is yours. Is that so? Then give it to me now. Mu Tianyong sneered. Qin Feiyang laughed, looked at Mu Tianyong, and asked curiously, the voice that sounded in your body just now, was it the weapon spirit of the blood blade? Yes. Mu Tianyong nodded. It can communicate with you? It's really strange. Why have Chang Shui and the weapon spirit of the ancient castle never communicated with me? Qin Feiyang frowned. Mu Tianyong said, how would I know? You have to ask them. If they were willing to communicate with me, would I be so puzzled? Let's not talk nonsense. Do you want to go to the deepest part together? Qin Feiyang asked. I haven't thought about it yet. Mu Tianyong pondered for a while and shook his head. Qin Feiyang said, you are not interested in the most mysterious and powerful divine land of the ancient world? Look at you, it seems like you want me to go. Tell me honestly, are you playing some kind of conspiracy? Mu Tianyong frowned. Conspiracy? You are thinking too much. Do you think I am you? Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes. Mu Tianyong sneered and said, we're all sensible people. Why is there a need to feign ignorance? There is really no conspiracy. I asked you to go purely because we can take care of each other. After all, the Heavenly Dragon Sea is not ordinary danger. I am not confident if I am alone, Qin Feiyang said. Come on. Do you think I don't know? You are afraid that I will snatch the soul line of the Ninth Heaven Palace, so you want to take me with you? Mu Tianyong sneered. Ahem. Qin Feiyang coughed. What? Are you embarrassed that I have seen through you? Mu Tianyong said with a playful face. Well, I admit I do have this idea. But this is only secondary. As you said, as long as we work together, there is nothing we can't do. And this time I may enter the Divine Land, so I want to continue to work with you and go to the Divine Land, Qin Feiyang said. Hearing this, Mu Tianyong lowered his head and pondered. Mu Qing glanced at Qin Feiyong and frowned, saying, Ancestor. He is going to the divine land to find Qin Batian. We don't have to follow him and take the risk, do we? That makes sense. Qin Batian is so powerful. Even if I find him now, I can't take revenge. Mu Tianyang nodded. Qin Feiyong glared at Mu Qing, then looked at Mu Tianyang and said with a smile, Come with me. I will let you cultivate in the castle. Mu Tianyang was stunned. Then his eyes lit up and he asked hurriedly, Really? When Mu Qing heard that she could go to the ancient castle to cultivate, she could not help feeling a rush of excitement. Do you think I will lie to you? You can go in now. Qin Feiyong said with a smile. Mu Tianyang was really tempted. One day in the castle was equal to 1 year, while 1 day in the Gold Crow Temple was equal to half a year. In the long run, the gap between him and Qin Feiyong would become bigger and bigger. But he hesitated. It was not easy to find out the whereabouts of the soul line. Would it be a pity to give it up? Suddenly, Mu Tianyang looked at Qin Feiyong and asked, Didn't you say that Yin Hui has a soul line when you sent the message last night? Why didn't you take it? I didn't think about the soul line at all. Moreover, Elder Yuan has already given me the mystic moon jade pendant. If I were to snatch her soul vein, that would be too unreasonable. Let's talk about it later. How many soul lines can Yin Hui have? Even if she has a few, their levels won't be high. For us, this kind of low-level soul line is meaningless. Qin Feiyong said with a smile. Because of the rules of time in the castle, their speed of refining soul stones was much faster than others, so those low-level soul lines were not enough for them. That's true. Mu Tianyang nodded. Although we can't get a high-level soul line in the northern region, think about it, there will be a lot of soul lines in the divine land. Qin Feiyong said again. Makes sense. Mu Tianyang nodded again. The divine land was stronger than the northern region, so there must be more soul lines. Although it's difficult to enter the divine land, I believe that we can do it together. Qin Feiyong said with a smile. Okay. I'll go with you. Tell me about the situation in the divine land. In the face of these temptations, Mu Tianyang really couldn't resist, so he didn't hesitate anymore. I also heard about the situation in the divine land from the deputy pavilion master. Qin Feiyong took the two of them to the depths of the Sky Dragon Sea while talking slowly. Ninth Heaven Palace. In a courtyard. He's actually a descendant of Qin Batian. The first elder sat in a pavilion, looking at Shangguan Fenglan standing opposite him. He was in a trance. After a long time he recovered and asked, Then why didn't you bring him back? Shangguan Fenglan was stunned and asked suspiciously, Bring him back for what? The son pays his father's debts. Qin Batian killed the palace master. Shouldn't he be asked to atone for his sins? The first elder said angrily. Shangguan Fenglan's body stiffened, and she hurriedly said, First elder, although the death of the palace master is because of Qin Batian, it's the fault of the dragons. The fault of the dragons, the first elder murmured and said angrily, Then why don't you go find the dragons for revenge? Do you have the ability? I don't. But we can't put the blame on Qin Batian. Moreover, Qin Batian didn't force us to protect him back then, we did it willingly. First elder, every injustice has its perpetrator and every debt has its debtor. We can't vent our anger on Qin Batian just because of the death of the palace master. Not to mention Qin Feiyong. He's just a junior and he only knows the truth now. Shangguan Fenglan shouted. Shut up. No matter what, the death of the palace master is because of Qin Batian. And this is something this old man will never forgive. The first elder shouted. Sigh. Shangguan Fenglan sighed and asked. Then what do you mean? The first elder said. Go and catch him for this old man. Catch him. First elder, in order to help our Nine Heavens Palace lift the ban on the treasure pavilion, do you know how much Qin Feiyong has paid? Wouldn't it be disappointing to do this? Moreover, you know Frenzy's attitude towards Qin Feiyong. He definitely won't let you do this. Shangguan Fenglan said. Then hide it from him. The first elder said in a deep voice. This. Shangguan Fenglan was at a loss for a moment. First elder, you're going too far. But at this moment, the courtyard door was kicked open, and a man in fiery clothes strode into the pavilion, looking at the first elder with displeasure. Shangguan Fenglan raised her eyebrows and said, Hui, what are you doing here? Mu Tianyang sneaked away in the morning, and I knew that something must have happened, so I quietly ran over. The result is as I expected, Hui said. The first elder frowned and looked at Hui. Don't interfere in these matters. It's not that I want to interfere, it's master, Hui said. Vice Palace Master? The first elder was shocked. Yes. Actually, Master already knew Qin Feiyang's identity, Hui said. Already knew? The first elder and Shangguan Fenglan looked at each other. Otherwise, why would I approach Qin Feiyang? It's to control his every move. And Master also said that if one day Qin Feiyang's identity is exposed, no one is allowed to fight against him, Hui said. Really? The first elder didn't believe it. After all, the Vice Palace Master wasn't here, and there was only Hui's side of the story. Hui said, whether it's true or not, won't you know when Master returns? The first elder frowned and hesitated. I have already conveyed Master's words to you. As for what to do, you can think about it yourself. After Hui finished speaking, he didn't stay any longer and turned to leave. Chapter 2195. Shangguan Fenglan's eyes flashed. She turned to look at Hui and said, Don't go yet. Wait for me outside. I have something to ask you. Hui was slightly stunned. He looked back at Shangguan Fenglan and nodded. Okay. After saying that, he walked out of the courtyard and stood outside, waiting for Shangguan Fenglan. Shangguan Fenglan retracted her gaze and looked at the first elder. First elder, I know you're uncomfortable, but I still hope you can think twice. The first elder glanced at Shangguan Fenglan and remained silent. Think about it carefully. I'll take my leave first. Shangguan Fenglan bowed and said before turning to leave. But after taking a few steps, the first elder suddenly asked, Is Elder Yun really not coming back? Shangguan Fenglan said, It's not that he's not coming back. He just wants to spend more time with his daughter. The first elder fell silent again. Sigh. Shangguan Fenglan sighed and walked out of the courtyard. She looked at Hui and said, Follow me. After saying that, the two flew in the direction of Lotus Lake. Soon, the two landed on the top of a mountain. Shangguan Fenglan frowned and said, Are you going to find Qin Feiyang? Hui was stunned and said in surprise, How do you know? Intuition. Shangguan Fenglan said. Hui smiled and said, Then you women's intuition is really accurate. Don't be so cheeky. Do you know where Qin Feiyang is going? Do you know what kind of calamity he will face in the future? If you go to find him now, you'll die with him. Shangguan Fenglan said angrily. Hui looked at Shangguan Fenglan in astonishment and asked, Are you concerned about me? Kind of. But don't misunderstand. I'm concerned about you because of your master. I believe that your master definitely doesn't want you to take this risk. Shangguan Fenglan said. A trace of disappointment crept onto Hui's face. He shook his head and sighed. Do you think I want to go? I have a reason why I have to go. A reason why you have to go. Shangguan Fenglan was stunned. Yes. Hui nodded. What reason? Shangguan Fenglan was suspicious. The corners of Hui's mouth rose as he chuckled and said, If you promise to be my wife, I'll tell you. Scram. Shangguan Fenglan's face darkened. Okay, I'll leave right now. Hui nodded again and again, and before Shangguan Fenglan could react, he disappeared without a trace. Ugh! Shangguan Fenglan stood at the top of the mountain in a daze. After a long while, she came back to her senses. Shaking her head, she sighed and took out the image crystal. Wang! Very soon, a shadow appeared. It was Shangguan Qiu. Elder sister. Shangguan Qiu greeted him warmly. Shangguan Fenglan smiled and said, There's no need to look for Yin Hui anymore. What is it? Shangguan Qiu looked at her in confusion. Shangguan Fenglan said, We have found her and accepted the matter. Qin Feiyang asked me to pass you on to thank you for your help. I see. Shangguan Qiu nodded in understanding, but then his expression suddenly changed. He asked suspiciously, Qin Feiyang? Who is Qin Feiyang? Qin Feiyang is Zhang Haotian. He is the descendant of Qin Batian. Shangguan Fenglan said. What? He is the descendant of Qin Batian? Shangguan Qiu was stunned. You must be surprised. At first I was like you. Shangguan Fenglan smiled. Are you kidding? Shangguan Qiu asked. Shangguan Fenglan shook her head. No wonder he kept asking about the dragons and insisted on going to the Sea of Sky Dragons. Shangguan Qiu murmured, looked at Shangguan Fenglan and asked, where is he now? I don't know. We separated at the Sea of Sky Dragons. I think he might want to go to Divine Land. Shangguan Fenglan said. Divine Land? Shangguan Qiu's eyes flickered. Whoosh! Suddenly, there was a sound of something breaking through the air. Shangguan Fenglan turned around and saw a woman in black coming at them like lightning. It was Wang Yun. Shangguan Fenglan looked at Shangguan Qiu and said, remember not to reveal Qin Feiyang's identity. Understood. Shangguan Qiu nodded. Shangguan Fenglan turned off the image crystal and looked at Wang Yun again. Palace Master, I finally found you. Wang Yun landed in front of Shangguan Fenglan and said, what's the matter? Shangguan Fenglan looked at her in confusion. Wang Yun said, just now, a disciple reported that someone saw Yin Hui at the Sea of Sky Dragons. Shangguan Fenglan was slightly stunned and nodded. I know about this. You know. Wang Yun was surprised. Yes. Don't worry about this. I have a task for you. From now on, you will guard the entrance of the stairway to heaven. Except for the disciples, if anyone leaves the ninth heaven palace, you must report to me immediately. Especially the great elder or his confidants. Shangguan Fenglan said. What do you mean? Wang Yun was puzzled. Don't ask, just do as I say. But remember, don't expose your whereabouts. It's best to hide in a space divine item. Shangguan Fenglan said. Yes. Wang Yun responded respectfully, then turned and left quickly. Sigh. What an eventful autumn. Shangguan Fenglan sighed, and with a flash disappeared without a trace. The Sea of Sky Dragons. In the sky above a certain sea. Dragons rule the divine land. I didn't expect this race to be so terrifying. After listening to Qin Feiyang's story, Mu Tianyang's face was full of shock. Mu Qing was the same. Qin Feiyang glanced at Mu Tianyang and said, do you feel the pressure all of a sudden? Pressure? Mu Tianyang smiled and said domineeringly, there is no pressure. I'm only looking forward to the dragon's soul line and treasures. Qin Feiyang was stunned. The dragons rule the divine land, which is equivalent to ruling the entire ancient world. You can imagine how many treasures there are in the dragon's treasury. Mu Tianyang's eyes lit up as he spoke. Qin Feiyang said in surprise, why did I only find out now that you are also a money grubber? Nonsense. How can I, a dignified emperor, be compared to those vulgar money grubbers? Mu Tianyang said discontentedly. Yes, yes, yes. Qin Feiyang nodded repeatedly. Mu Tianyang said, don't talk nonsense. Let's go to the castle quickly. Mu Qing's eyes were full of expectation when she heard that. So impatient? Qin Feiyang was speechless. Nonsense. You have already broken through to the half-step Divine Lord realm. If I don't work hard, won't I be left further and further behind by you? Mu Tianyang said. What are you afraid of? You have a heaven-defying artifact. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Don't you have one? Mu Tianyang rolled his eyes. Qin Feiyang chuckled and glanced at the sea below. The sea was very calm. There was no trace of sea beasts. It seemed that even the heavens were taking care of him, and did not encounter any sea beasts causing trouble. What? You don't mean what you say. Do you believe that I will turn around and leave now? Seeing that Qin Feiyang did not respond, Mu Tianyang could not help but raise his eyebrows. Don't. I'll take you in now. Qin Feiyang hurriedly said with a smile, then waved his hand and disappeared above the sea. However, right after Qin Feiyang entered the ancient castle, one enormous head after another emerged from the sea surface. Those were the heads of sea beasts, and they were all extremely ferocious. But the strange thing was that their eyes were filled with fear. At the same time, when Mu Tianyang and Mu Qing appeared in the castle, everyone opened their eyes and looked unfriendly. Especially Tan Tai Li. The disgust in her eyes was undisguised. Long time no see. But Mu Tianyang acted as if nothing had happened and looked at everyone with a smile. No one paid attention to him. Tan Tai Li frowned and said, Feiyang, are you really going to let them stay here? No matter what, we are partners now. It's only right that we take care of each other. Qin Feiyong said with a smile. That's right. Although we did have a lot of grudges in the past, we are now on the same boat. Mu Tianyang echoed with a smile. Tan Li said in a deep voice, then you'd better behave, or don't blame us for being rude. Madam Li, you're exaggerating. Now that I'm living under someone else's roof, how would I dare to mess around? Mu Tianyang sighed. That's best. Tan Li snorted coldly, closed her eyes and continued to cultivate. The others and the white-eyed wolf also closed their eyes and continued to cultivate. Ancestor, do you see that? Their cultivation has already broken through to half-step godlords. Mu Qing looked at everyone with a solemn expression and transmitted her voice. Yes. Mu Tianyang responded secretly. Qin Feiyong looked at the two of them and said, you can cultivate here, but I definitely won't allow Guasweki. Mu Tianyang was stunned and nodded with a smile. Understood, understood. Qin Feiyong did not say anything else and took out the map of the Sky Dragon Sea. What's this? Mu Tianyang looked at the map suspiciously and said without batting an eyelid, Mu Qing, quickly take the opportunity to cultivate. Yes. Mu Qing responded respectfully. She glanced at the ancient castle, then walked to a corner, took out the soul stone, and sat cross-legged alone to cultivate. Mu Tianyang went to Qin Feiyong's side and looked down at the map. After a moment he said in surprise, it's actually the map of the Sky Dragon Sea? Yes. Qin Feiyong nodded. This is a treasure. Where did you find this? Mu Tianyang was surprised. Give it to me, Deputy Pavilion Master. Qin Feiyong said. Mu Tianyang was stunned and exclaimed. He's even willing to give you such an important map. This old man treats you extraordinarily well. Qin Feiyong didn't pay any more attention to him and carefully looked at the map. After a while, Qin Feiyong frowned and said, in terms of distance with our current cultivation, it will take at least 5 years to reach the deepest part of the Sky Dragon Sea. 5 years. Mu Tianyang's expression froze. It actually took 5 years. 5 years is just a conservative estimate. Because on the way, we will definitely encounter a lot of sea beasts. If there are sea beasts, there will definitely be delays. In other words, even if we can overcome the various dangers and successfully reach the deepest part of the Sky Dragon Sea, I'm afraid it will take at least 7 to 8 years. It's really a long journey. Qin Feiyong sighed. 7 to 8 years it is. Anyway, you're the one who's rushing. I'll take the opportunity to cultivate. Mu Tianyang laughed. When Qin Feiyong heard this, he could not help but stare at Mu Tianyang angrily. Chapter 2196. It's no use glaring at me, because I only said that I would accompany you to the Divine Land, but I didn't say that I would travel with you. Mu Tianyang chuckled, then turned around and walked to Mu Qing's side, ignoring Qin Feiyong's anger. He sat cross-legged on the ground and closed his eyes. Qin Feiyong rubbed his forehead weakly. To be honest, he didn't want to travel, because it was a waste of time. But the castle was sealed by the golden small beast, so he had to control it himself. As for the Black Tortoise Realm, that was even more so. The Black Tortoise Realm was a real small world, and no one except him could control it. Wait, wasn't there the Grey Castle? Qin Feiyong patted his head. He could enter the Grey Castle and let the weapon spirit take him to the deepest part. In this way he could stay in the castle and cultivate. With that in mind, Qin Feiyong left the castle. At that moment, he was stunned. Why were there so many sea beasts on the sea? He didn't even see one before. At the same time, those sea beasts that thought that Qin Feiyong had left and floated to the surface of the sea, saw Qin Feiyong appear again, and immediately dived into the sea in panic. In the blink of an eye, not a single sea beast could be seen on the surface of the sea. What's going on? Qin Feiyong was extremely shocked. Why did they all look like they had seen a ghost? After thinking for a long time, Qin Feiyong still couldn't figure out the reason, so he flew forward. Just like before, it was calm all the way. Those sea beasts seemed to have disappeared into thin air. An hour later, a small island appeared in front of him. The island was overgrown with weeds and rocks, and it looked extremely desolate. Qin Feiyong took out the map, checked it carefully, and his eyes darkened slightly. According to the map, this island was a very dangerous place, because there was a demigod sea beast king on the island, and it ruled the nearby sea area with a radius of tens of thousands of miles. Qin Feiyong put away the map, glanced at the island, and finally gritted his teeth and flew over the island. However, even after he had traversed more than half of the island, he didn't see a single sea beast, not to mention the so-called sea beast king. What the hell is going on? Qin Feiyong was puzzled. Suddenly, he seemed to have discovered something and lowered his head to look at a canyon on the left. A trace of bewilderment crept into his eyes. There was actually a corpse in the canyon. It was the corpse of a vicious crocodile. It was over 10 meters long and its body was covered in thick scales. Qin Feiyong swooped down and landed beside the corpse. The corpse did not decompose. His blood did not coagulate either. It felt like he had died not long ago. There were no other wounds on the corpse except for a bloody hole between the eyebrows of the head. It was obvious that he had been killed with a single blow, and his soul had been shattered. Wait a minute. Qin Feiyong seemed to have discovered something. He frowned slightly and moved closer to look at the blood flowing out of the bloody hole. The color of this blood was different from normal blood? It was a dark red color. This isn't right. Normal blood would never be dark red in color. Only those people or beasts that had been dead for a long time would have blood like this. Could it be that this vicious crocodile hadn't just died? That's right. The cultivation of this vicious crocodile must be very strong. That's why its blood did not coagulate and its body did not rot. Only its blood changed color. Wait a minute. Could this vicious crocodile in front of him be the half-step god realm sea beast king? If it was really it, then all of this would make sense. After all, a half-step paragon god's body wouldn't rot for at least a few thousand years. If that was the case, then this vicious crocodile had been dead for at least 4 to 5 years. What are you looking at? Suddenly, the spirit appeared and asked puzzledly. Look at it. Qin Feiyong came back to his senses and pointed at the corpse of the vicious crocodile. The spirit glanced at the corpse and said, "It's probably been dead for 4 to 5 years. Qin Feiyong was stunned and said, "You think so too? I can tell by looking at its blood. But is there a problem? You've been here for so long?" The spirit asked. "No. I'm just curious. How did it die?" Qin Feiyong said. "What's there to be curious about? Sea beasts are the same as you humans. In order to fight for territory, they often kill. Besides, every day, many people come to the Sky Dragon Sea to adventure. Maybe some expert came to this island and killed it." The spirit said. "I know. But I found a problem." Qin Feiyong was puzzled. "What problem?" The spirit was suspicious. "You said that the Sky Dragon Sea is the biggest forbidden area in the North region. There are countless sea beasts. But since I set off until now, I haven't even met a single sea beast. The strangest thing is that half an hour ago, when I came out of the castle, I saw a lot of sea beasts. However, when they saw me, it was as if they had seen a ghost and all of them dived into the sea. This doesn't fit their personality." Qin Feiyong frowned and said. The spirit said, "Maybe you're lucky. They're full today and don't want to bother with you." Qin Feiyong was stunned. This reason was too nonsensical. The spirit said impatiently, "Is there a need to be troubled by these small problems? Let's go." "Is this just a small problem?" Qin Feiyong muttered. In his opinion, this was a big problem, because this was too abnormal. Roar! Suddenly, a series of deafening roars came from behind. Qin Feiyong was startled. So he hastily soared into the sky and raised his head to look over. Whoosh! He saw a fiery red flowing light streaking across the sky like lightning, flying toward the small island. And behind it, a large group of sea beasts followed. Each of them was ferocious and full of hostility. Obviously, they were chasing that fiery red flowing light. When the flowing light approached, Qin Feiyong was stunned. How could it be him? That was a young man wearing a fiery red robe. His long hair was also red like fire. From afar it looked like a ball of flame. That's right. He was Huai. When did he come to the Sky Dragon Sea? Qin Feiyong looked at Huai suspiciously. The spirit took a look at Huai and returned to Qin Feiyong's body. Qin Feiyong. Soon, Hui also noticed Qin Feiyong and laughed. So you're here? What do you mean? Qin Feiyong was stunned. Why did it sound like he was here specifically to find him? Whoosh! Hui rushed to the front of Qin Feiyong, looked back at the sea beasts behind him, and said anxiously, "Run for your life first, we'll talk later." After saying that, Hui continued to run without looking back. Qin Feiyong stood in the air in a daze. He was really here to find him? What are you still doing? Didn't you see those sea beasts? Let's go. Realizing that Qin Feiyong did not follow, Hui immediately stopped and looked at Qin Feiyong. Okay. Qin Feiyong came back to his senses and was about to turn around and chase after Hui. But at this moment a strange scene appeared. The sea beasts that were chasing him actually turned around and ran away like a swarm of bees. Qin Feiyong was stunned. Hui also had a look of astonishment. Moreover, Qin Feiyong also found that when those sea beasts saw him, it was exactly the same as the sea beasts he encountered half an hour ago. Their eyes were filled with deep fear. What was going on? Hui scratched his head and flew to Qin Feiyong's side. Looking at the escaping sea beasts, he asked suspiciously, "Did they suffer in your hands?" No. Qin Feiyong shook his head. Then why did they run away as soon as they saw you? Hui asked. How would I know? I've been wondering about this problem. Since I entered the heavenly dragon sea, I haven't seen a single sea beast attack me. Qin Feiyong said. No way. Hui was dumbfounded. Along the way, he was chased by sea beasts until he almost had nowhere to go. It's true. Qin Feiyong said. Is it so strange? Hui frowned. It's a little strange. Qin Feiyong nodded. Suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something and turned to look at Hui. Why did you come here? Hui chuckled and said, Of course I'm here to find you. Why are you looking for me? Also, how did you know I was in the heavenly dragon sea? Qin Feiyong was suspicious. Looking for you, naturally there's a reason. Hui said vaguely and then said, As for how I know? Naturally, I overheard the conversation between Lawner and Great Elder. Qin Feiyong's pupils shrank and he asked, What did Shangguan Fenglan say to Great Elder? What should be said has been said, and what shouldn't be said has also been said. Hui joked. Qin Feiyong frowned and said, Then don't you already know? Yes. I already know that your name is Qin Feiyong, and that you're a descendant of Qin Badian. Hui said. Then why did you come to find me? Qin Feiyong said. What does that have to do with anything? It's impossible that I'll cut ties with you just because you're a descendant of Qin Badian, right? In one's life it's rare to meet a few bosom friends, so you have to cherish them. Hui smiled. Qin Feiyong shook his head and smiled. In fact, he was quite touched in his heart, and said, Then does Shangguan Fenglan know that you came to find me? Of course she knows. Hui nodded. Qin Feiyong asked suspiciously, Then when did you come? Hui said, After listening to their conversation I came. Qin Feiyong said in surprise, Then your speed is too fast, you caught up in such a short time? Of course. My methods are unfathomable. Hui looked at Qin Feiyong complacently. Qin Feiyong was speechless, then his face turned solemn and said, Since you already know my identity, then you should be able to guess what I'm going to do next. Are you sure you want to take the risk with me? Hui said, I'm already here, isn't that the best proof? Alright. What you want to do is your own right. I have no right to interfere. I only hope that you won't regret it when the time comes. Qin Feiyong said. Hui proudly said, In my dictionary, there is no such word as regret. Looking at Hui's arrogant look, Qin Feiyong couldn't help but want to kick him. Hui said suspiciously, Let's get down to business. How did you scare away those sea beasts? I really don't know. Qin Feiyong shook his head, glanced at the sea ahead, and said, If you don't believe me, then follow me. All right. Hui nodded. Immediately after, the two turned into a stream of light and disappeared at the end of the sea. Chapter 2197. In the blink of an eye 3 days passed. On the morning of the third day, a middle-aged man in black clothes hurriedly left Nine Heaven Palace. Not long after the middle-aged man left, Wang Yun appeared on top of the stairway. Why did he leave Ninth Heaven Palace? Looking at the peak below, Wang Yun muttered and took out an image crystal. Wang! Shangguan Fenglan's image appeared. Wang Yun said respectfully, Palace Master. Wu Zhangtian left Ninth Heaven Palace. Wu Zhangtan. Shangguan Fenglan was shocked and asked anxiously, when did this happen? How many people? Wang Yun said just now he was alone. Alone? Shangguan Fenglan frowned and pondered for a while, then said, I know, continue to monitor him. Yes. Wang Yun replied, put away the image crystal and disappeared. Grand Elder, are you still going to make a move? Do you know what kind of consequences this will bring to Ninth Heaven Palace? Shangguan Fenglan stood by the lotus lake and sighed faintly. After hesitating for a moment, she took out the image crystal. Wang. Shangguan Qiu appeared and asked suspiciously, what's wrong? Sister. Shangguan Fenglan said, Wu Zhangtian left Ninth Heaven Palace. I think he might have been ordered by the Grand Elder to hunt down Qin Feiyang. Wu Zhangtan. Shangguan Qiu's body shook. Shangguan Fenglan said worriedly, Wu Zhangtian's strength is unfathomable. Even I can't see through it. If he really went to hunt down Qin Feiyang, the consequences would be unimaginable. Then why did you send me a message? Shangguan Qiu asked. I can't stop the Grand Elder, and I can't go to the Sky Dragon Sea to help them, so I can only ask the Treasure Pavilion. Shangguan Fenglan said. Shangguan Qiu said, you want the Treasure Pavilion to protect Qin Feiyang? It's not about protection, just blocking Wu Zhangtian is enough. Shangguan Fenglan said. This is not child's play. I have to ask Master and the Vice Pavilion Master first. Shangguan Qiu said. Okay, ask them and arrange it. Shangguan Fenglan said. Shangguan Qiu nodded. At the same time, after 3 days of hurrying, Qin Feiyang and Hui had already ventured deep into the Heavenly Dragon Sea. During these 3 days, not a single sea beast attacked them. This caused Hui to feel incredulous to the extreme. What was going on? Before meeting up with Qin Feiyang, the sea beasts seemed to have gone crazy and chased him everywhere. However, after meeting up with Qin Feiyang, there was no trace of any sea beasts. No one would believe that there was no reason for this. But what was the reason? Could it be that Qin Feiyang had something that these sea beasts were afraid of? Suddenly, another island appeared in their sights. The island was several hundred miles wide, with undulating mountain ranges and sea beasts roaming about. Qin Feiyang stopped and took out the map. He checked it and said, according to the map, the danger level of this island is level 3. Level 3. Hui was stunned. On this map, the danger level of each place is clearly marked. From level 1 to level 9. Level 1 is the lowest and level 9 is the highest. Qin Feiyang explained. So that's how it is. Hui nodded in understanding and said with a smile, then rank 3 isn't much. Wrong. This map was given to me by the Vice Pavilion Master. And the person who drew this map, even if he is not the Vice Pavilion Master, his strength is definitely not inferior to the Vice Pavilion Master. In the eyes of these people, level 3 danger level is indeed nothing, but for us it is fatal. Qin Feiyang said in a deep voice. Listening to what you said, it does seem to make sense. After all, their cultivation is much stronger than ours. Then should we take a detour or? Hui asked. Qin Feiyang glanced at the island, his eyes flashed. He put away the map and smiled. Enter the island. Hui was slightly stunned and asked, such a dangerous place, why don't we take a detour? I want to confirm again, are these sea beasts afraid of me or not? After Qin Feiyang finished speaking, he took a step forward and descended above the island. Hui quickly followed. Roar! Upon seeing Qin Feiyang, one of the sea beasts below immediately let out a roar. Boom! At this moment, the island was in an uproar. One by one the sea beasts fled for their lives. For a time the island was collapsing, as if it was the end of the world. Hui exclaimed, this scene is too spectacular. Is this the point? Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes at him, used the Xing character art, and chased after a half-step divine realm sea beast. Today he had to figure it out. It had always been humans who were afraid of beasts, but he had never seen a beast so afraid of humans. That sea beast panicked when it saw Qin Feiyang chasing after it. The other sea beasts also stayed far away from them. In their eyes, Qin Feiyang was like a devil. Why are you chasing me? That sea beast roared. Then why are you running? Qin Feiyang said angrily. The sea beast roared. Isn't it normal for us sea beasts to run when we see you humans? Normal my ass. I'm just a half-step divine lord. Is there a need for you to be so afraid? Qin Feiyang said. Big brother master, please don't chase after me, okay? The sea beast wanted to cry but had no tears. If it were other humans, they would be happy to encounter such a thing. Why would they chase after it? But this human actually took the initiative to approach. He was simply a freak. Qin Feiyang said, Tell me why you're so afraid of me, and I won't chase you. I don't know. I'm just following the beast god's orders. Don't chase me anymore. The sea beast roared anxiously. The beast god's orders? Qin Feiyang was taken aback. Yes. If you want to know the reason, go to the beast god. Why are you looking for me? That sea beast was helpless. Where is the beast god? Qin Feiyang asked. The sea beast said, In the deepest part. The deepest part? Qin Feiyang was surprised. The beast god is the ruler of this sea. We have to listen to him. That is, the beast god ordered us to stay away from you. The sea beast said. You really don't know the reason? Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. I really don't know. Please, can you stop chasing after me? That sea beast was about to cry, because it found that although the other party was only a half-step divine lord, his speed was actually faster than it. Qin Feiyang frowned and finally stopped. Only then did the sea beast breathe a sigh of relief and then fled without looking back. Beast god? The ruler of this sea region. Hui was also a little stunned. Looking at Qin Feiyang, he said, Be lenient if you confess, be strict if you resist. Be honest, what kind of relationship do you have with this beast god? How would I know? I've only come to the Sky Dragon Sea twice. The first time was when I sparred with Frenzy on Turtle King Island. And the second time is now. Qin Feiyang said. Hui said, Then why did this beast god give such an order? I already said I don't know, yet you still ask? Annoying. Qin Feiyang said angrily. Fine. I won't ask anymore. Hui waved his hand. Although I don't know the reason, it's a good thing for us. How about this? You're riding a spatial divine item to bring us along? Qin Feiyang looked at Hui and said. You guys? Hui was stunned and asked suspiciously, Who else? Mu Tianyang. Qin Feiyang said. What the hell? That guy is also here. Hui was stunned. He's now in my spatial divine item. Qin Feiyang nodded. I heard Lan tell the Great Elder that you didn't leave alone? When did he get together with you again? Hui said. I was the one who instigated him to come. Qin Feiyang said. Instigated? You're really bad. You want to die, but you don't forget to drag someone down with you. This Mu Tianyang is really stupid. He was so easily fooled by you. Hui despised. Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes and said, Just tell me, do you want to bring us along? No. I have to cultivate too, okay? Hui shook his head. Who would be willing to do such a chore? If you want to cultivate, go back to the 9th Heaven Palace to cultivate. Why did you come here to join in the fun? Qin Feiyang said. I'm happy to. Hui shrugged, looking very much like a scoundrel. Qin Feiyang sighed helplessly and waved his hand. Fine. Since you already know my identity, I don't mind letting you know a little more. Hui was stunned and his eyes lit up. What other secrets do you have that you can't see? Qin Feiyang replied helplessly. Artifact spirit, come out. Shua. Artifact spirit immediately rushed out from Qi Si. Could it be the demonic creature that Lan spoke of? Hui looked at artifact spirit in surprise. But Qin Feiyang and artifact spirit ignored him. Qin Feiyang looked at artifact spirit and asked, With your speed, how long will it take to reach the deepest part of the Sky Dragon Sea? Should be half a year. Artifact spirit thought for a moment and said. Qin Feiyang was pleasantly surprised. Then it can save a lot of time. Artifact spirit proudly said. Compared to you, it can indeed save a lot of time. Qin Feiyang smiled and said. Alright then, bring us along. I knew there wouldn't be a good job. Artifact spirit pouted and nodded. Alright, who asked you to be this sovereign's master now? After saying that, he summoned his main body. Qin Feiyang glanced at the gray castle, looked at artifact spirit and said, Then I'll go into your main body now? Artifact spirit nodded. Qin Feiyong waved his hand, rolled up Hui and disappeared without a trace. Artifact spirit also followed into the gray castle, and then the gray castle quickly shrank, like a speck of dust, and broke through the air. P.S. Notice, during this period of time, the country is cracking down on pornography and illegal publications, and chapters with sensitive words will be blocked, which may lead to chapter confusion, repetition, and so on. If such a situation occurs, please refresh or add bookshelves. Please forgive me. Chapter 2198. Back to Qin Feiyong and Hui. At this moment, the two were standing in a stone room about 100 feet wide. On the ground there was nothing. There were no decorations on the wall. The huge stone room seemed to be extremely empty. On the left wall there was a stone door. The stone door was closed, exuding a strong aura. This was the space inside the gray castle. Hui looked around and was speechless. Such a heaven-defying demonic creature. How come there isn't even a single treasure? Isn't this Lord the greatest treasure? The spirit appeared. How did you get in? Hui looked at it in astonishment. Nonsense, this is this Lord's place. This Lord can come in whenever he wants. The spirit said. Hui shook his head. No, aren't you on your way outside? The spirit was stunned and looked at Qin Feiyong. Why did you find such a stupid friend? Qin Feiyong couldn't help but laugh. Damn. How am I stupid? Hui glared at the spirit. This castle is this Lord's main body. This Lord lives here. Why would I need to go outside? The spirit was speechless. Hui was stunned for a moment before he suddenly slapped his head and said with an embarrassed smile, Look at my brain, I can't think straight. Stupid. The spirit shook its head. Hey. Even if I asked a low-level question, you don't have to look down on me like this. Hui said unhappily. I'm too lazy to talk nonsense with you. Qin Feiyong, you can now go and cultivate. The spirit said. Qin Feiyong was in the gray castle at this moment, so after entering the castle would naturally be inside. Qin Feiyong nodded and asked, Do you have a time array here? Yes. The spirit nodded. Yes. Qin Feiyong was stunned. He just asked casually, but he didn't expect that there really was one. Hui was also quite surprised. He looked at the spirit and asked, Is it powerful? The spirit proudly said, 1 day is equal to 100 years. Tell me, isn't it powerful? 100 years? Qin Feiyong and Hui's bodies shook. Their faces filled with disbelief. Qin Feiyong said, Are you kidding? Hey! The artifact spirit let out a sinister laugh. Qin Feiyong immediately rolled his eyes and said helplessly, An old antique like you actually knows how to joke. The artifact spirit laughed hoarsely. All right, let's not waste any more time. Qin Feiyong nodded. With a wave of his hand, he brought Hui into the castle. Is it really just a joke? After the two of them left, the artifact spirit's blurry eyes flashed with ridicule. Inside the castle. Brother Mu, you're too dishonest. You actually snuck away without telling me. Hui looked at Mu Tianyong with dissatisfaction. Mu Tianyong opened his eyes and smiled. I just don't want to implicate you. Nonsense. Do you think I don't know that you don't trust me? Hui said. Mu Tianyong laughed dryly and said, This is a very special place. Don't waste time, hurry up and cultivate. Special? Hui was stunned. He glanced around and said in surprise, There are actually so many people and beasts? Following that, he looked at Qin Rushuang and said in surprise, Miss Rushuang is also here? Miss Rushuang, long time no see. How are you? Qin Rushuang opened her eyes and rolled her eyes at him. She closed her eyes again and did not say a word. Hui smiled embarrassedly and looked quite embarrassed. Wow! Suddenly, he looked at the white-eyed wolf again and curiously approached it. He reached out and touched the white-eyed wolf's fur and exclaimed, I have never seen such a handsome wolf cub. Get lost. The white-eyed wolf spat out this word coldly. Hui's arm stiffened. He was quite popular with others, but why were they all so cold now? He smiled embarrassedly and retracted his arm. Looking around, he asked suspiciously, Brother Mu, did you find anything special? Mu Tianyong said, There is a time array here. 1 day is equal to 1 year. Time array? 1 day is equal to 1 year. Hui was slightly stunned and immediately said in dissatisfaction, "Previously, the artifact spirit made fun of me, and now you are also making fun of me. Do you think I am a 3-year-old child who is easy to fool?" Mu Tianyong was stunned and shook his head. "Believe it or not, it's up to you." After that, he did not talk nonsense, closed his eyes and continued to cultivate. Seeing this, Hui's heart trembled. Could it be true? He could not help but turn his head to look at Qin Feiyong. Qin Feiyong smiled faintly and did not explain. He walked to the side of the mermaid princess and sat with the mermaid princess. He took out the soul stone and began to cultivate. Seems to be true. 1 day is equal to 1 year. Damn. This is even more powerful than the time array of the purple gold divine pagoda. No wonder these guys broke through so quickly. Hui glanced at everyone, his expression full of shock. Suddenly, Qin Feiyong opened his eyes and looked at Hui. "How many soul stones do you need to refine to break through from half-step divine lord to initial divine lord?" 500 million. Hui said. "What? 500 million? Qin Feiyong was dumbfounded. It took 5 years to refine 100 million soul stones, then wouldn't it take 25 years to refine 500 million soul stones? Mermaid Princess suddenly said. "It doesn't take 25 years. What do you mean?" Qin Feiyong was stunned and looked at her suspiciously. "After breaking through to half-step divine lord, we found that the speed of refining soul stones has also increased exponentially. Now we can refine at least 300 soul stones a day." Mermaid Princess said. 300? Qin Feiyong was surprised. He remembered that when he broke through to half-step divine lord, he could only refine 150 soul stones a day. This was really an exponential increase. According to this calculation, it would take about 4,560 years to refine 500 million soul stones. According to the rules of time in the ancient castle, it would only take 4,560 days. In other words, it would take a little more than 12 years. It's actually very easy to calculate. Back then, it took you 5 years to refine 100 million soul stones. 500 million soul stones is 25 years. But now, the speed of refining soul stones is twice as fast as before. 25 divided by 2. Naturally, it's more than 12 years. Mermaid Princess smiled. More than 12 years, Qin Feiyong muttered. Although the time needed was not as long as he imagined, 12 years was still long enough. Others need thousands of years to refine 500 million soul stones, but you can refine it in 12 years. Are you still not satisfied? Hui rolled his eyes at Qin Feiyong. Qin Feiyong shook his head and smiled bitterly. Yes, he should be satisfied. Compared to others, the ancient castle had already saved him a lot of time. Qin Feiyong asked, "What about the realms after the initial stage of Divine Lord?" From initial stage to initial stage you need 1 billion soul stones. After initial stage it will increase exponentially 2 billion, 4 billion, 6 billion. Finally, to break through half-step to Divine Lord, you need a total of 8 billion soul stones. Hui said. So much? Qin Feiyong was shocked. One had to know. Since he entered the ancient world, the total number of soul stones he had obtained was less than 40 billion. Of course, if he didn't give the 32.5 billion to Mu Tianyong, he would have more than 60 billion, close to 70 billion. But now, he estimated that he only had more than 30 billion. Not counting the small numbers, only the big numbers. He got 4 billion from Feng Zihan. He got 32.5 billion from the Treasure Pavilion. He got 400 million from Shangguan Fenglan, but a small part of this 400 million was given to Hui. He won more than 300 million in the bet with Shi Tai. And in the auction of the 4 symbols Infinite Divine Pill, he got 350 million. In total it was about 38 billion. Adding those small numbers that didn't count, it was less than 40 billion. And during this period they also refined a lot. So now there was probably only about 36 billion left. And now, including Qin Feiyong, there were a total of 9 people and 5 beasts in the ancient castle. To break through to initial stage Divine Lord, each person and beast needed 500 million soul stones, a total of 7 billion soul stones. To break through to initial stage Divine Lord, each person and beast needed 1 billion soul stones, a total of 14 billion soul stones. To break through to Great Success Divine Lord, each person and beast needed 2 billion soul stones, a total of 28 billion soul stones. In this way, it wasn't enough for everyone to break through to great success Divine Lord. Because just breaking through to great success Divine Lord required a total of 49 billion soul stones. It seems that no matter how many soul stones I earn, it's not enough. Qin Feiyang shook his head and sighed. This is giving you a headache? The bigger headache is yet to come. When you break through to Divine Lord, you'll need even more soul stones. Actually, to sum it up, soul veins are the root of the problem. Only with soul veins, and a large number of them, will we not have to worry about soul stones in the future? Hui said. Soul veins, Qin Feiyang murmured. If he could successfully enter the divine land, he must find a way to get more soul veins. Whoosh! Qin Feiyang took a deep breath and began to cultivate. After all, strength was the foundation of everything. Without strength, even if a level 9 soul vein was placed in front of you, you could only stare. Chapter 2199. Outside, the gray castle moved as fast as lightning, many times faster than Qin Feiyang. Moreover, with the strength of the gray castle, no sea beast dared to run out and block the way. Coupled with the beast god's order, there were no disturbances along the way. Half a year later, a huge island appeared on the horizon. From afar it looked like a giant beast lying on the sea sleeping, exuding a mysterious aura. However, when seeing the island, the gray castle did not fly straight in, but chose to take a detour. This was incredible, because along the way, no matter how dangerous the island was, it did not avoid it. Swish! A figure appeared in the gray castle. It was Qin Feiyang. Although he was cultivating, he always kept track of the time. When half a year was up, he woke up from seclusion. The weapon spirit floated in the void, looking at Qin Feiyang, who suddenly appeared, and asked suspiciously, "What are you doing out here?" "It's been half a year, so I wanted to come out and ask if you have arrived." Qin Feiyang laughed. "How can it be so fast? The half a year I said was to reach the deepest part. But the deepest part is very big. In other words, even if we reach the deepest part, it will still take some time to reach the entrance of the divine land," the weapon spirit said. "I see. Where is the fire lotus? Why haven't I seen her yet?" Qin Feiyang was suspicious. The weapon spirit seemed to not know how to answer. Looking at the hesitant weapon spirit, Qin Feiyang gradually frowned and said, "Are you lying to me about something?" The weapon spirit sighed. "Actually, the fire lotus is in the deepest part." "What did you say?" Qin Feiyang's face suddenly changed. The weapon spirit said, "But don't worry, she is absolutely fine." Qin Feiyang clenched his hands and said in a deep voice, "She better be fine, otherwise I will not spare you." After saying that, Qin Feiyang flashed and appeared in the sky above the sea. Woo-woo! Whoosh! Strong winds howled in all directions and huge waves surged. The sky was also covered with dark clouds, appearing extremely gloomy. The artifact spirit also appeared and said angrily, "It's very dangerous outside. Why did you come out?" "I wanted to come out and take a look," Qin Feiyang said and asked, "Is this the deepest part of the heavenly dragon sea?" "Yes. The deepest region is like this all year round. The wind is strong and the environment is very bad," the artifact spirit explained. Qin Feiyang nodded in understanding. Suddenly, he looked at the nearby island, and a trace of surprise appeared in his eyes. On all sides of the island, the sky was dark. However, the sky above the island was bright and sunny. The sky was clear and boundless, as if it was two different worlds. Was this an illusion? The artifact spirit said, "There's nothing to see. Let's hurry up and continue our journey." There seemed to be a trace of guilt in his words. Although it was not obvious, Qin Feiyang still noticed it with his keen insight. This artifact spirit was definitely hiding something from him. "Let's go to the island and have a look." Qin Feiyang's eyes flickered slightly as he said. The artifact spirit was puzzled. "It's just a deserted island. What's there to see?" Qin Feiyang sneered, "You haven't even been there. How do you know it's a deserted island?" The artifact spirit seemed to be even more flustered and said, "Do we still need to go in? I can tell at a glance." "I really can't tell." Qin Feiyang glanced at the island, then turned into a stream of light and flew toward the island against the wind and waves. "Damn it! The artifact spirit cursed secretly and quickly blocked in front of Qin Feiyong, saying, "Do you still want to go to the divine land?" Qin Feiyong said, "I just want to go to the so-called deserted island. What does it have to do with going to the divine land?" "You're wasting your time," the artifact spirit said angrily. "Shut up. Do you really think I'm a fool? Do you think I can't see that you don't want me to enter that island?" Qin Feiyong shouted. The artifact spirit trembled. Qin Feiyong said, "I hate being lied to the most. It's not too late to tell me now." The artifact spirit was silent for a long time, then suddenly sighed and said, "Since you insist on going, then go. As for why, you'll naturally know when the time comes." After that, the artifact spirit drove the gray castle back to Qin Feiyong's Sea of Qi, and said nothing more. Qin Feiyong looked up at the island, and his eyes flickered. What on earth was on that island? But for the sake of safety, he restrained his aura and quietly flew toward the island. Just as he entered the island, the head of a huge sea beast poked out of the surging sea. Roar! The sea beast stared at Qin Feiyong's back, and a fierce light flashed in its eyes, followed by a sudden roar that resounded in all directions. At this moment Qin Feiyong was standing on a boulder at the edge of the island, looking at the sky curiously. The clear sky and warm sunlight were actually not illusions, and they really existed. But when he heard that sea beast's roar, his gaze trembled, and he hurriedly turned his head to look. But on the surface of the sea, he did not see anything. That roaring sea beast had already dived back to the bottom of the sea. Qin Feiyong looked for a while and did not think too much. He raised his head and swept a glance at the sky again, then quietly swept into the forest ahead. After all, in this heavenly dragon sea, especially in the deepest region, it was normal to have sea beasts. In the central region of the island there was a valley. The valley was very large. Streams meandered around, and the bottom could be seen clearly. On both sides of the stream vegetation was lush and flowers bloomed. Moreover, there were countless peach trees planted in the valley. These peach trees were of different heights. Some peach trees had already borne fruit the size of a baby's fist, bright red and suffused with a sparkling luster, making people salivate with one look. Some were budding. The entire valley seemed to be covered in a layer of gorgeous colors, as if it was a paradise on earth. At the centermost position of the valley, there stood a pavilion. The pavilion had 2 stories with carved beams and painted pillars. On the left there was a small lake. The streams in the valley all converged here. On the right there was a small garden. One beautiful flower after another vied with each other in full bloom. One lush green small tree after another swayed in the wind. There was also a pavilion in the small garden. Inside the pavilion, a man and a woman were shockingly sitting. The woman wore a pale yellow long dress, her figure exquisite and tall, her black hair dancing in the wind, her temperament ethereal. But unfortunately, she wore a mask on her face, blocking her true appearance. But from her temperament and figure, it was not hard to determine that she was an extremely beautiful woman, while that man also wore a fitted pale yellow long robe. He was around 20+ years old, his figure slender and tall, his face like jade, and his temperament was extremely extraordinary too. The 2 people sat opposite each other drinking tea and chatting. Looking from afar, they were like a pair of immortal lovers living in seclusion in a peach garden. It was also at the same time that the sea beast roared that the young man's expression froze, putting down the teacup in his hand and raising his head to look at the sea outside. A trace of suspicion also crept up in the woman's eyes. All of a sudden, the corners of the young man's mouth curled up with a hint of playfulness. Then, he waved his hand and an image immediately appeared in the void in front of him. In the image there was a forest. A white-robed man was in the forest, looking around. The white-robed man was Qin Feiyong. Looking at Qin Feiyong in the image, the playful look on the young man's face became even more intense. However, the masked woman suddenly stood up. Her gem-like bright eyes seemed to be filled with anxiety. Looking at the masked woman's reaction, a trace of displeasure flashed across the young man's brows. He said, "Do you care about him that much?" The masked woman did not answer. Instead she said, "I've already agreed to your conditions. Please don't make things difficult for him." "I didn't want to make things difficult for him in the first place. But now that he's barging in, what do you think I can do?" Most importantly, if he knows that you're here, will he let the matter rest? The young man said. The masked woman said in a deep voice, "You can get your subordinates to scare him away." Scare him away? The young man smiled playfully and said, "To be honest, I'm really curious. What kind of man is he that you care so much about?" "You." The masked woman glared at the young man. "Don't worry. I promise I won't take his life. But I'm afraid it's inevitable that he'll be injured and bleed." The young man smiled. The masked woman clenched her hands and said coldly, "Don't go too far. If you really anger me, it won't do you any good." "How would I dare to anger you? I just want to see if he's worth it for you to do this." After the young man finished speaking, his lips moved slightly, and a silent order was immediately passed down. At the same time, in the forest, Qin Feiyong moved closer without making a sound. His eyes were observing the surroundings and his ears were listening in all directions. He appeared to be especially careful. However, what puzzled him was that after so long, there was not even a trace of a sea beast. Could it be, as the spirit said, that this was a deserted island? But this island was obviously not an ordinary place. There must be something here. Boom! But suddenly, the ground under his feet shattered. A fatal crisis arose in his heart. Qin Feiyong immediately retreated without hesitation. Then, he saw a blood-red divine light rushing out from the broken ground. Ah! It was a small beast that was only the size of a palm. It looked like a brown bear, but its fur seemed to be stained with blood, and it exuded a terrifying aura. Seeing that Qin Feiyong had dodged its attack, the brown bear was very surprised. Qin Feiyong was also sizing up the brown bear, and his pupils gradually shrank. He could not see through this little guy's cultivation. Judging from its aura, it should be at least a consummate divine emperor. The brown bear regained its senses. It stood in the air and looked down at Qin Feiyong in an overbearing manner. It shouted, "Human, who gave you the guts to barge into this island?" Qin Feiyong cupped his hands and smiled. "I didn't mean to offend you. Please forgive me. You're quite polite. However, I don't buy it. There is only one ending for those who dare to break into this island, and that is death." The brown bear's eyes were filled with murderous intent, and it turned into a blood-red light and charged at Qin Feiyong like lightning. And it went straight for Qin Feiyong's head. Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows and said in a low voice, "I've been very polite to you. Please don't be so aggressive." "So what if I force you?" The brown bear's eyes were full of disdain. Its sharp claws did not stop, and its divine power surged as it slapped at Qin Feiyong's head. Chapter 2200. Qin Feiyong felt a great threat, and he retreated once again without hesitation. Humans are indeed trash. They only know how to hide. The disdain in the brown bear's eyes grew stronger, and its arrogance became more arrogant. "Trash," Qin Feiyong murmured. A murderous intent flashed in his eyes. You dare to show your murderous intent to me? It seems that you really haven't died before." The brown bear grinned and increased its speed. In an instant it fell behind Qin Feiyong and swung its claws. Poochie! The clothes on Qin Feiyong's back were torn and 5 bloody marks appeared. Drops of purple gold dragon blood kept flowing out. "What? This is purple gold dragon blood." The brown bear was shocked. At the same time, in the valley in the center of the island, the young man also stood up suddenly and looked at the blood on Qin Feiyong's back with disbelief. "Sigh." The masked woman sighed. The young man turned to look at the masked woman and said, "You didn't tell me that he has the bloodline power of the purple gold dragon blood. This point, what else is there to say?" The masked woman said lightly, "Indeed, there's nothing else to say." The young man nodded and looked at Qin Feiyong again and murmured, "Purple gold dragon blood?" In the forest, Qin Feiyong stood in place and did not move. The wound on his back was also healing rapidly under the self-healing ability of the purple gold dragon blood. "Why do you have the purple gold dragon blood?" The brown bear was completely shocked and could not extricate itself. Qin Feiyong slowly turned around and looked at the brown bear. If it was in the north region, he might continue to hide his bloodline power. But in this place there was no need at all. "Are you deaf? Answer me quickly." Seeing that Qin Feiyong did not speak from beginning to end, The brown bear could not help but yell angrily. Okay, I'll answer you now, Qin Feiyong said word by word. As his voice fell with a whoosh, a blood-red light flashed out and instantly disappeared between the brows of the brown bear. Roar! With a painful scream, the brown bear's head immediately exploded like a watermelon. Flesh and blood splattered everywhere. The divine soul was also shattered on the spot. Instant kill? In the valley, the young man's face stiffened. A perfect divine emperor was killed in an instant? The masked woman said coldly. He's not that easy. The young man was stunned and joked. Let's wait and see. She frowned but she did not say anything more. In the forest, Qin Feiyong expressionlessly glanced at the bloody fur brown bear's corpse. Then he soared into the air. He didn't try to hide it at all and stood in the air above the forest. Human, how dare you kill our. All of a sudden, accompanied to the point, to the forest, to the to Fito B to the crowd to the there were at the number of at least more to them. To the to do to the end to the way. To Qin Feiyong looked around and said, I suddenly feel like eating bear paws today. It's a pity that your paws are too small. How dare you? Kill him. More than 100 brown bears roared angrily. Waves of divine power surged toward Qin Feiyong like a torrent, carrying a destructive aura with them. These blood-furred brown bears were all perfect Sir Gods and great perfection Sir Gods. With such a lineup, let alone a half-step divine lord. Even a perfected divine lord with similar cultivation could only flee for his life. But Qin Feiyong did not change his expression and said, although your paws are too small, if you put them together, you can make a stew? I'm so angry. Human, you're digging your own grave. The group of brown bears roared. You're the ones digging your own grave. Qin Feiyong's eyes turned cold. He clapped his hands and waves of golden light burst out. Boom! Return formula. In an instant, the golden light and the brown bear's divine powers met in the void. There was a loud explosion between heaven and earth. Void annihilation. The mountains and rivers below collapsed. Dust billowed and covered the sky. How is that possible? At the same time, over 100 brown bears glared angrily at him. That was because they saw their divine power being reflected by the golden light. What kind of technique was that? Roar! In the nick of time, over 100 blood-fur brown bears raised their heads and roared. Their palm-sized bodies instantly expanded with the wind. In the blink of an eye, one by one, huge creatures appeared in front of Qin Feiyong. At that moment, each of the brown bears was a few 100 feet tall. They looked like mountains and their ferocious aura flooded the area. So this is what you really look like. Then your bear paws are enough. Qin Feiyong said. You're courting death. Without a doubt. His words completely enraged them. They moved together and waved their fists, which were as big as houses, to crush the divine powers that were reflected back. Then without stopping they charged toward Qin Feiyong. So what if you're bigger? You'll still become my meal. Qin Feiyong smiled coldly. An invisible force suddenly roared out from his body. Then, this force with him as the center rolled out in all directions. A shocking scene appeared. The hundreds of brown bears were shrouded by the invisible force and immediately howled in pain. The next moment, all the blood-furred brown bears fell down uniformly. With a loud rumble, they smashed into the ground below one after another. In the valley, the young man was dumbfounded. How could he kill all the brown bears in an instant? What the hell is this? How could a mere half-step divine lord possibly accomplish this sort of degree? The masked woman was also surprised. The young man raised his eyebrows and turned to the masked woman. What kind of technique is that? I don't know. The masked woman shook her head. Aren't you very close to him? You don't know? The young man frowned. I've never seen it before. The masked woman said. Seems that I've underestimated him. I have to use my real strength. The young man sneered. The forest was full of holes. In the void above, Qin Feiyong looked down at the brown bears coldly like a divine lord. That formless power was slowly flowing back into his body. Soul destruction skill. Legendary level killing skill is indeed powerful. After a while, he murmured and a smile crept onto his face. He took out a dagger from his Qian Kuan ring and flew toward the brown bears below. That's right. The formless energy from before was formed by the soul extermination technique. The soul destruction skill was one of the 2 legendary level divine skills that he had obtained in the 9th Heaven Palace's martial skill treasury. It was his first time activating the soul destruction skill since he had obtained it. The lethality did not disappoint him. It ignored the defense and wiped out the divine soul directly. As for now, of course, he was going for the bear paws. The perfect Sir God and the perfect Sir God blood-furred brown bear were supreme grade bear paws. He could not waste them. Boom! However, Qin Feiyang had only managed to cut off one of the bear's paws when a terrifying might suddenly descended. He looked up and his expression changed. In the void above there was another brown bear. Whether it was its ferocity or its size, it was far more powerful than the previous brown bear. Human die. The crimson fur brown bear came in a menacing manner. Like a deity, it descended from the sky and stomped towards Qin Feiyang. The giant paw that was covered with red fur was like a mountain. It was daunting. Obviously, it wanted to step on Qin Feiyang to death. Qin Feiyang hurriedly took a big step forward and rushed out. As soon as Qin Feiyang left, the brown bear charged toward him. The giant paw stepped on Qin Feiyang's original position. The ground shook. The ground also collapsed and cracked. The rumbling sound was deafening, and there were a few brown bear corpses here. They were directly trampled into a bloody pulp by its paw. Qin Feiyang looked at this scene and felt his scalp tingle. If he did not dodge this paw, he would have become a bloody pulp by now. What a terrifying guy. Human. Seeing Qin Feiyang dodge, the brown bear beat its chest and stamped its feet. It raised its paw again and slapped toward Qin Feiyang with a deafening sound of wind and thunder. Qin Feiyang's expression changed. He used the Xing character formula and escaped. The giant paw fell. With a loud bang, the ground cracked crazily and abyss appeared. The corpses of more than a dozen brown bears were slapped into a bloody pulp. Qin Feiyang broke out in a cold sweat. This blood-furred brown bear was a half-step divine lord existence. Otherwise, the power of its paw could not be so terrifying. What else can you do besides running? The blood-fur brown bear angrily roared again and again as it aggressively slammed its paw towards Qin Feiyang. It's not over, is it? Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows and activated the soul destruction technique. An invisible force surged out of his body once again and pounced towards the brown bear with an earth-shattering force. However, when the invisible force enveloped the brown bear, it did not cause any harm to it. Qin Feiyang's expression stiffened. Let's see how you can escape this time. Boom! At the same time, the brown bear roared. The giant paw fell. At this time, Qin Feiyang could not dodge. But he did not intend to dodge. Clang! Accompanied by a heaven-shaking explosion, a blood-red sword chi tore through the sky. The brown bear suddenly screamed. The giant paw that slapped toward Qin Feiyang was directly cut off by the sword chi. Fresh blood poured down like a waterfall. The brown bear covered its wound and stared at Qin Feiyang standing on the ground in horror. Kept retreating. It saw that Qin Feiyang had a blood-red long sword in his hand. The sharp edge could tear the sky and the earth. After breaking through to the half-step Sir God, he had officially stepped into the Sir God realm. With his heaven-defying kill formula, half-step paragon gods were no longer a threat to him. Of course, if the opponent had a powerful divine art or a divine weapon, it would be a different story. After all, with a divine art or a divine weapon, the opponent's strength would be multiplied several times. Sigh. But at this time, Qin Feiyang shook his head and sighed. There was a bit of helplessness on his face. But he was not regretting that he could not kill the brown bear with one strike. It was because of the soul destruction technique. Sure enough, except for the 6 words divine art, even a legendary divine art could not break the barrier between the major realms. Just like now, the soul extermination art could kill even perfect celestials in an instant, but it couldn't do any damage to a half-step transcendent god. This was the barrier between the major realms. No matter how powerful you were, you could not cross this barrier. Chapter 2201. Phew. Qin Feiyang heaved a sigh of relief and looked at the bear. The bear was filled with fear. One had to know. It was a half-step supreme god and its body was extremely strong. But now it had been cut in half by a sword. What level of divine weapon was the crimson sword? It was so terrifying. "Leave your paw and get out of here," Qin Feiyong said coldly. Hearing this, the brown bear turned around and ran away in a hurry. "Didn't I say I would leave your paw?" Qin Feiyong shouted. The crimson sword shone brightly and the sword chi rushed towards the bear. "Didn't you cut off my paw?" The bear was shocked and angry. "I want 2 of them. You haven't given me the other one," Qin Feiyong said. "Don't push me too far." The bear roared. "You came out to provoke me from the beginning?" Qin Feiyong smiled coldly and used the walk formula. He was even faster than the bear. "Stop. I'll give it to you." The bear's face changed and it quickly cut off its paw. It was really scared now. Not only was the crimson sword powerful, but its speed was also terrifying. How could a half-step supreme god be so powerful? This could no longer be described with the word terrifying. It was simply a freak. After the bear paw was broken, the brown bear disappeared from Qin Feiyong's sight with a belly full of fear and sullenness. Didn't even look back. Qin Feiyong did not chase after it. He sent the bear paw back to the black tortoise world and then dispersed the crimson sword. He did not know that the bear was under someone else's orders. Otherwise, he would not have let it go. How many beasts are there on this island? Qin Feiyong scanned the mountains below. The island was huge and he could not see the end of it. The mountains were undulating and the ancient trees were towering. But other than the brown bear, there was no trace of any other ferocious beast. He did not even sense any aura. It was the same as when he first entered the island. However, the appearance of the blood-furred brown bear made him not dare to let his guard down. This island was definitely not as simple as it looked on the surface. There were definitely other ferocious beasts hiding here. Wait a minute. Something doesn't feel right. Qin Feiyong stopped and turned to look in the direction where the brown bear disappeared. For better or for worse, this was the deepest region of the Sky Dragon Sea. Why were there so many consummate godlords, perfect godlords, and half-step transcendent godlords? Logically speaking, in a place like this, even if they didn't surpass the Paragon God level, they should at least be at the Paragon God level. Qin Feiyong frowned and looked up at the sky again. Dark clouds covered the sky outside, but the sun was shining brightly on the island. Why was this? Roar! All of a sudden, a series of beastly roars could be heard. Qin Feiyong was startled, and he quickly turned around to look. He saw sea beasts roaring out from the sea beyond the island. Each of the sea beasts was as large as a mountain. Ferocious. So many. Qin Feiyong was dumbfounded. At a glance, there were tens of thousands of sea beasts in the sky above the sea, and the aura they emitted was extremely terrifying. According to Qin Feiyong's judgment, they were all early-stage transcendent gods. What's going on? Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows. Why didn't a single sea beast appear when they flew over the sea? And now there were so many of them? Roar! A group of sea beasts roared into the sky, and then turned into a beast tide, surging toward the island. And there were many sea beasts rushing out from the sea, joining the beast tide camp. Before the beast tide reached the island, the number had already risen to 30 to 40,000. In other words, at this moment, 30 to 40,000 transcendent god-level sea beasts were pouncing toward the island. What kind of lineup was this? Mighty and mighty. Wherever they went, huge waves were set off. Not good. Suddenly, Qin Feiyong's expression changed. These sea beasts seemed to be coming for him. He hurriedly activated the kill formula, and the blood-colored long sword appeared, ready to fight. You've gone too far. In the valley, the masked woman glared at the young man. He killed my favorite pet. Isn't that too much? The young man said. How can you blame him? You're the one who made those blood-furred brown bears attack him first. The masked woman said angrily. That's right. I'm the one who made them attack first. But I didn't really want to kill him. But this person is so ruthless that he killed all my pets. How can I spare him? The young man said. You're being unreasonable. Even an idiot can see that those blood-furred brown bears were ruthless. Do you think that I'm worse than an idiot? The masked woman shouted. I didn't say that. The young man chuckled. The masked woman's eyes darkened, and she stared at the young man saying, Let me ask you again. Do you really want to kill him? Don't worry, don't worry. If I really wanted to kill him, I would have done it myself. Why would I go through so much trouble? The young man smiled. The masked woman frowned and didn't say anything else. She continued to look at the image in the sky with a hint of worry in her eyes. In the sky above the mountains, Qin Feiyong was on high alert. The beast tide had already surged into the island. They were like locusts, densely packed and crushing everything in their path. Roar! The sea beast running at the front suddenly roared. It immediately bared its white fangs and pounced toward Qin Feiyong. They're really coming for me? Qin Feiyong frowned. Then killing intent flashed in his eyes. He slashed with his sword, and a terrifying sword chi flooded the sky. The sea beast had a cultivation base of novice paragon god, but it was directly cut in half by the sword chi. Its flesh and blood splattered everywhere. However, this scene didn't deter the other sea beasts in the slightest. They bared their fangs and fought with each other as if they were fighting for a piece of delicious cake. Qin Feiyong's eyes were like torches. His sword chi swept across the sky, and the sea beasts died one after another. However, there were too many of them. Qin Feiyong couldn't split himself. Boom! Suddenly a palm-sized sea beast stealthily snuck up behind him and bared its fangs, heading straight for his back. However, Qin Feiyong was very aware of danger. He made a prompt decision. He activated the battle formula. However, he was still sent flying. His throat heated up and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Fortunately, he had the battle formula to protect him. Otherwise, this blow would have been enough to shatter his bones. Human, give up resisting. The palm-sized sea beast cackled and disappeared from Qin Feiyong's line of sight in a flash. It wasn't that its speed was very fast, but that there were too many sea beasts around. These sea beasts directly blocked Qin Feiyong's vision. Qin Feiyong ignored the small beast and focused on fighting the enemy. About 100 breaths passed. Qin Feiyong suddenly exhaled, as if relieved of a heavy burden. He was indeed not as nervous as he was at the beginning, because he slowly discovered that although these sea beasts had powerful cultivation, they didn't have any divine arts or artifacts. Without divine arts or artifacts, they were no different from puppets. No matter how many there were, he wasn't afraid. Whoosh! Suddenly, another deadly sense of danger came from behind him. Again! You really haven't died yet. Qin Feiyong's eyes were filled with murderous intent. He turned around and slashed with his sword. The blood-red sword tore through the sky. Ow! Accompanied by a painful wail, the small beast from before suddenly splashed blood in the sky. Roar! The death of the small beast seemed to have completely enraged the beast tide. Each of them was crazier than before. Another pet that I like has been killed. In the valley, the young man's eyes flashed coldly. Closely after, his lips moved and another silent order was transmitted. Mountains and rivers. Blood flowed like a river and corpses were everywhere. Qin Feiyong's body was already soaked in blood, as if he had been soaked in blood. His blood-red hair fluttered in the wind, as if a god of death had descended to the world. At this moment he had already gone crazy from killing. The blood-red sword in his hand was also surging with blood-red light, exuding an incomparable murderous aura. But those sea beasts were even crazier. It was as if they weren't afraid of death. But suddenly, all the sea beasts stopped and began to retreat. Qin Feiyong was stunned. Why did they stop? There must be something wrong with this abnormal situation. They were so crazy before, but now they suddenly stopped. It was definitely not that simple. After coming back to his senses, Qin Feiyong carefully became vigilant. You're tuning into the Li Mei Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.